what the first one was.
I know the article doesn't have them in proper order.
Oh, you have an article. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I would love to discuss it in order, and we should have like probably pulled up the direct and checked it out again real quick for you guys. But yeah. Okay, so it looks like all right. So we're gonna talk about Mario Party Jamboree, Super Mario Party Jamboree. So this is actually a direct sequel to the one Super Mario Party that we've ever gotten, which was on the Switch. So this is going to be more in line with that Super Mario. That's a little bit different than your normal Mario Party. Super Mario Party is a little different. There are a lot of people who don't like that Mario Party, but this is a direct sequel to that. This is the next Mario.
It's kind of like where they're going.
Super
with
Mario
with
Party.
Mario Party.
Yeah, and I'm like, to be real, like they can add the super there and then start going with the numbers again, like Super Mario Party 1, Super Mario Party 2. You know what I mean? Like they could, but you know, it's is it something that interests you on any level at all? Or
I mean, passively is like a party game. It's not something I could see myself putting 50 hours into realistically, but it's like a game like, hey, if you got like friends over, you're trying to kill some time, or you just want to have a good weekend. It's the kind of game you'd put in and play. I mean, looks like they getting really unique with some of the levels that they have. Looks like they're bringing some old retro stuff back, in some form or fashion, as well as they announced the online multiplayer portion of it as well, which is pretty new thing. On top of Nintendo not being known for their online stuff, or online support at the very least. But I mean, I think it looks solid. It's just more Mario Party. They keep adding stuff that fans want. You have up to 20 players at one time, which just seems crazy.
That sounds.
It sounds crazy. I don't know how it works. I don't know if like they have specific different mini games for it, or like how does the board work? Because normally it's like, hey, you go one person at a time. I haven't played a Mario Party game since. I've not played any of the Super Mario Parties.
There's only one, so this is only the second Super Mario Party.
Because I played like the regular Mario Party games, so that's what I have my experience in. So I'm sitting here, I'm like,
They're not like majorly different or anything like that. So like, but it is there's like a split. Like the diehard Mario Party fans, like a lot of them don't like Super Mario Party, but the one that came after, I cannot remember the name. I freaking have it too.
I mean, very obvious.
They really like that. Some people were saying it was the best Mario Party ever.
This is a casual party game type thing. So, like, the more people that are able to join in and play, like, I would assume, the better. Because you're trying to, like, have more fun, or like, hey, maybe you want to play with your friends, but you don't live in the same area. Hey, the internet's a thing. Let's, take advantage of, some servers and stuff like that. I think I'm surprised it took, Mario Party this long to finally take advantage of it, but knowing Nintendo, it's not all that surprising. As he is digging for something. Oh, he's pulling out his game.
So this is Super Mario Party. What's cool about this is there's actually it's not crazy rare, but if you grab this now, this is going to have so much value in the future, and it looks really cool. There's actually a boxed version of this with special Joy-Cons. And like they were just selling them at Walmart and stuff. Like you can order them on the Walmart website. I saw it pop up on Amazon a few months ago. I didn't grab one. I didn't see it until after. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's really fun, and it's got a lot of new games to it. It is online, so there is online play. So I think it's pretty good for what it is. It isn't my favorite Mario Party.
I don't know if I've got a favorite Mario Party, to be honest.
Well, I sure do. Now, I can't speak on the last Mario Party. I have not grabbed it yet. I feel terrible because I am going for all the first party games, and like I should have that to be able to talk about it, but unfortunately, I don't have the one that came out 2 years ago. But I heard great things. A lot of people saying it's the best one. They revamped and like redid a bunch of the mini games from like 1, 2, and 3. So like people loved it. It was like it hit the nostalgia factor. People really, really liked it. But my favorite Mario Party, so I've got, all right, my top 3 Mario Parties. Here's how it goes: Mario Party DS, Mario Party 2, and then Mario Party Island Tour, I believe it is. 3DS, yeah, Island Tour. Those are my favorite 2 handhelds.
I think you've only played one of those games, and that was Mario Party 2.
I may put.
And I don't really.
I probably
remember, to be
should put
fair.
Mario Party 2 first. It's amazing. Here's the problem with 1. 1 is the one that caused people's hands to bleed and break their controllers with the mini
Yeah, because
games.
it's that hard
Yes,
plastic on
yes.
the 64 controller.
There's no grip on that controller. Like if you play it now, it's not like a grip, if that makes sense. It's shiny and like it's actually
It's just
really
plastic.
weird. It's like cheap plastic. That's what it feels like. But yeah, you know, yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely check it out. I could probably play that with my daughter and she'd have fun. And it's one of those type of games where you just kind of shut your brain off, but also if you want to be competitive with some friends, and it is online, so I know a lot of people that will be getting it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of games because 20 people is pretty insane. Getting people together, I think that's awesome.
I don't know how you get super competitive in a game that has a lot of random chance in it.
Would you say there's a lot of random chance?
Yes, a lot of luck is involved in this game, as far as
Would-
like winning it.
Would you? Because I've seen people you can watch on YouTube that know exactly when to jump to get the correct box. Like they can get it every single time. The mini games, like I can't think of any that are luck based.
I'm not talking the mini games. I'm talking the map itself. There's a lot of random chance that could affect.
But you click the button on how far you go, and you're able to time it. So I don't know.
The mini games are one thing, but just because you could win every mini game and still lose the actual game, just because of other BS that happened during the game.
Yeah, it depends, and
bad luck and stuff like that. And we're gonna give out random star coins, and you have no idea who's probably gonna get it.
Yeah, I get it. So we did get that.
Again, I don't know. It's a party game. Like, do you really need to min max a Mario Party game?
To what?
It's a hot take. Do you really need to min max a Mario Party game?
Why does that sound so familiar?
What do you mean?
That whatever you're saying.
Oh, min max.
Yeah. Why is
essentially when it's you are trying? I'll pull up try. Essentially, you're trying to like optimize it. You're trying to like find the best possible way to achieve whatever you're trying to go. Usually, it's in more competitive games or like MMOs.
Would you not?
Is like the perfect skill setup, the perfect gear setup to maximize, say, your DPS damage to clear something like the most to be most efficient at something.
Okay, would you not say that? Because I feel like it'd be crazy if you don't say that. Would you not say that the Smash Brothers for Switch Ultimate is? How is that not the best one we've ever? I don't know how they're going to do it again. There's so many characters. I have no idea.
I keep hearing
how
like
do you
it's
do that again?
Like he
said it was his last one.
Make more games.
But I saw an article last week where like Sakurai was considering it. That's it was like clickbait, but
Nintendo's like, here's money, make another game. We'll twist your arm.
I would like him to. I'm not gonna lie.
I think
he's not that old. He's not. It would be different if he was
I'll
like
say
75, but
it's a guarantee you're gonna get another one. Nintendo's not gonna.
Oh
let that
yeah,
die.
but I'm just worried about
if he just says I'm not making another one. Nintendo's just gonna find somebody else to make the game. Nintendo's not gonna let that franchise go away. It's too much hype. It's too profitable for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's no way that they're going to do that. I just worry because he's always been involved in the series.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know, but Bandai Namco is involved in the series. They are also developing.
Don't they pull a lot of Bandai Namco characters into that game as well?
Well, they do now, but they didn't before. Pac-Man is in there now.
Mario Party is there's so many other IP characters that are in Mario Party. I think the only way
in Mario Party,
not.
Oh, you're talking Smash Brothers.
Smash Bros. I just said we were talking Mario Party, so my brain.
So that's why I'm saying, how is this not like I can't ever argue that one of the others is better. Like Melee is amazing, but the characters in Ultimate, oh my god! And they
I guess
perfected the controls. All the controls are on you. If you lose, you feel it like that, right? Like that's
yeah.
how the game. It feels just so smooth that it feels like, oh, I messed up, so I lost. Not, oh, screw this game. I don't like it. Like, and that's why it's played competitively all over. So,
Sorry, I thought I was gonna sneeze for a second, but
oh, you're good.
no, you got two routes they're gonna go. Either they're just gonna make another one, new gimmick, bring in new characters, or they go the quasi live service route where they switch Ultimates like the last game they're gonna make. They're just gonna keep updating it, keep adding new DLC characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's one of the two routes that you can go, and I think they're gonna just make another game, find what their gimmick is gonna be, and then swap up their party lineup.
I wonder, like, how do you add more characters? It has to bring in more characters. How?
I think the thing is eventually you start to have to be like, this next game, we'll keep these, IPs, we'll bring these back. We're going to get rid of some of them and bring in new ones. I think that's the only way, or else you have too many. I think you can have too many characters.
I believe that you could too, but at this point, I could argue that there's already too many characters. So I don't know. Like, I could argue now, like, if that's your point, like, you're mad that there's a bunch of characters. Other people that are diehards are just going to want new characters, but still be able to access all the other characters. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to...
Yeah. No, I think your basic Nintendo lineup is probably going to always be there to some degree.
Yeah.
They might swap it here or there, but when it comes to, like, third-party characters, I think you have to see massive, like, swap outs if you want to, somewhat keep it fresh to some degree.
Yeah.
Or else you end up with the issue of, like, oh, here's 200 characters, which to a veteran might not be a problem, but to a new player might be overwhelming.
Yeah. And that's why they have you unlock, the characters, right? Like, you don't just get the characters, which is fun. There is single player to be had if you want to earn the characters. And that's always been, like, my excitement for the games. I love it. It's like, finally, like, you know what I mean? I was so excited.
But isn't, like, half the excitement of a new game is you don't know what characters are going to be in the game at the very least at launch, and then they come out and be like,
I love that.
The DLC. I think that's what they're going to do. It's just,
and
will the next game play the same? I assume they're going to try to bring in some gimmick with it. Hopefully it's not the tripping mechanic that everyone hated.
The brawl.
But they have to change it up, somewhere else. People are going to be like, it's just the same game, you just swapped out characters. Or they've got to add more to the base game. Which I don't know how you do in a fighting game.
Well, I'll tell you what. The what was it called? The Odyssey and Brawl. That, like, story mode was perfection in my opinion. Like, that story mode they did was absolutely amazing. You went through I think it was called Odyssey or something that you go through. I have to put it in. Let's see. It's the Smash Brothers story mode.
I kind of have a rough idea because I played most of Smash games, but
I got that day one. I can remember sitting down on the ground next to the console playing that game. I was so excited. I went online, and online was unplayable. It was horrible. Like, it would get down to like 5 frames a second at times. It was really bad. But I had
bad internet. Or bad servers.
What is that story mode called? Trying to find it here.
Why try to pull that up? Because you're much more the fighting game aficionado than I am. Would you say that Smash Bros. Ultimate or Melee is a better game?
God, see, that's
just from a fighting aspect.
From the fighting aspect, Melee.
Everyone always holds Melee as like the pinnacle of Smash Bros. Maybe not from the lineup, but the actual combat itself.
Yes, it's still played competitively, and so is actually the first game. I just recently learned this. The first game's played competitively. I think gameplay wise, I don't know how to explain it because they're like the same thing, but there's something about the click and the control of, like, for me, Link is one of my mains, and there's something about the click of when he's hitting hitting the sword on you, and you've got like a 2 millisecond delay. You charge up. I don't know. There's something there that it was perfected. Ultimate has it, and a lot of people have changed their tune now that we're the melee guys. A lot of people have changed. Nintendo this is like a launch game, right? Or close to launch. They just finished supporting it. Like they supported this like the whole life cycle. That's insane. So and Mario Kart 2, the booster course packs, insane. That's a Wii U game.
I think for both, they just found it easier with these types of games to just keep supporting. Like, there's no need to maybe remake the game. You can just keep adding content. Obviously, Mario Kart's a little different from Smash, where it's more character-based. Or maybe you could add a few maps, where Mario Kart, they could probably just keep progressively adding more and more maps forever. That's what I feel like, what they're going to do with Mario Kart 8.
It's like a racing game, right? Like, what else do you do to this?
Like, the core gameplay hasn't changed at all. I feel like they could just update the game, add new track. Because most people, when you play, like, Mario Kart, it's all about the tracks.
It is all about the tracks.
Some people care about some aspects of the lineup.
I will argue forever that the DS tracks, most of the DS tracks, are, like, the best tracks. Like, no doubt about it. I've replayed them.
Maybe not the figure 8 track. That was pretty
well.
Fun.
But it works.
I haven't played Mario Kart 8 in a hot second. Did they bring Dry Bones back in that game or not?
Mario Kart 8?
Only
yeah.
I thought it was. Yeah. I think he was not on the 7?
3DS one? I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think so. It's been so long since I played that one. I don't think so, but I'll tell you what. People are asking and talking about those two specifically. What will Nintendo do next when you perfected a series? You've given so much content that you can play these games for the rest of your life, realistically.
I think this is Nintendo's version, essentially a quasi-live service. It's not a live service and it's stuck on a server, but it's like, why keep making new games when you can just keep... You don't really care, because obviously the sales show it, and nobody's really complaining. Like, why waste the money on a new game? We could just keep adding tracks. Because with the actual racing aspect, like, what more can you really do with it?
That's the thing. I mean, it's a kart racing game at the end of the day, and, like, not that any of them are selling anywhere close to Mario Kart, but, like, for instance, I have 7 different... They're not just mine. My daughter has a few of them. 7 different kart racers. Garfield Kart Racing... what was the one she played the other day? DreamWorks Kart Racing, like Shrek, all those characters. Yeah. Got the Sonic racing game, both of them. Kart racing games. I cannot remember. Hold on. Actually, they're right here.
But I mean, it feels like they're just copying they're just chasing Mario Kart. They're trying to copy that formula.
Sneak peek here, because this is going to be a post. But I've got both of these. Both very good kart racing games. Look at the front here. So you've got the standard game here. Standard game. But for the 360, look what they got. Banjo.
Oh, because they own the IP.
Yeah. Only in the 360 version I got it sealed. Not intentionally. You won't believe where I got this game.
Yard sale?
No. Nope, take
GameStop?
Nope, close, but no.
Game convention?
Walmart. Swear to God, bought it last year. Walmart, they had 2 of them.
A 360 game at Walmart?
Yes, I swear to God. And they had Wii game there. They had the Just Dance 2020. And I bought one of them, and hey, call me a scummy reseller, but if the value was there and people wanted it, it's not really... I got it for $5. They wanted it gone. That's how much they were selling for. $90 to $100. The reason is that's a collector's game, and that's it, because it is one of the last Wii games to come out, and a Wii game to come out in 2020 is absolutely insane. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, you're right on that.
But Wii, I mean, the reason they did it is because it was the biggest really ever on Wii. Like that was the peak of, and we're going to be talking about that again. So we'll move on to the next thing. What do we got next here?
My stuff loads.
Oh, you're good.
Did you have them?
I
What's
don't.
it?
I don't have them pulled up straight.
I don't have them in the order that they came out. So
well, yeah, I hate to do it out of order, and like, unfortunately, there's some of them I'm not finding, so we're just gonna have to look. I want to make sure that we do at least touch everything. Mario and Luigi Brothership. So I am watching this trailer again. So I already watched it 3 times.
Yeah,
and
so I pulled it back up. The Mario and Luigi Brothership was the first game that they announced.
Okay, so cool. We'll kind of do it in order then. I don't remember this being the first one, but
no, it was. I brought up their directly and how they kind of like segmented everything out.
So I'm watching the trailer live right now again, and I think this is so cool. The Mario and Luigi series is very unique. They are standard RPGs, and they work beautifully. I would tell you that 2 of the games in the series are 10 out of 10 games. Bowser's Inside Story is like a 10 out of 10 RPG. People behold, Super Mario RPG and stuff like that, but these games, they obviously didn't get super overlooked because they sold and like they're making another. But I just feel like they don't get discussed as much. Mario and Luigi Partners in Time is in my top 10 DS games of all time. Amazing RPG. That is one too that I would say is a 10 out of 10. Superstar Saga. If you would like to play Mario and Luigi and learn what the series is about, it's on Nintendo Switch Online. So I would highly recommend playing that first game. And I think this looks really cool with new character designs, I've never seen them before. Like one of these bosses that you fight, and it looks like it's got some weird mechanics where you're doing kind of funky stuff to get through the level. Like there's different little, I guess you would call it like mini games in the game that you have to do.
Mini games like puzzles and stuff.
Kind of like puzzles, yeah.
Just a unique way to accomplish the challenge that you're going after.
And there's a bunch of brand new characters. Like I'm looking brand new characters. I've never seen them before in my life. It looks like they're stuck on an island. So that is probably why it's called Brothership. And I told you, we talked before this. I was like, I was going to say the only thing I didn't like about this was the name. But I didn't notice that last 3 seconds of the trailer, or last like 5 seconds.
Yeah, they're like on water.
They're on an island. So they're on a deserted island. So that's why there's these new characters. And none of this has been revealed. This is just speculation, but like it's got to be, right? They show the deserted island surrounded by water, brand new characters, enemies we've never seen before.
I mean, it's good they bring new characters in though.
Yeah,
it's nice to go after the old ones, but sometimes you need some creativity. You need to bring new characters in.
Oh, and they do that with every Mario and Luigi game. There's always new characters, and that's something that series has done very well. And I have enjoyed really all of them. But I would say Partners in Time and Bowser's Inside Story are 10 out of 10 games. And actually, Bowser's Inside Story got a it's more of like a remaster and brought over to the DS or 3DS, sorry. And it came with an additional story mode where you play as Bowser Jr. So that's pretty cool. If you're gonna get that one. So you get that, and it's Bowser Jr. through the story from like kind of his point of view. Like it's attached to the story. You know what I mean? It's super cool. It's very unique. And like that was cool that they brought it over from the DS to 3DS. Yes, you can play backwards compatible, but it looked way better. And they actually added like 4 to 6 hours of content, story content to it. So it was really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, you said you haven't played one, right?
No, I've never played any of these games before. This direct was the first time I even heard of them, so.
Oh, dang.
It's just a series I've just never played before. But I can assume you're going to get this at launch when it comes out in November.
I will definitely be getting this at launch, and I'll probably stream this and probably do a video on it, I'm sure. I'm very excited for this. This is this is in my top of the direct. Like I've got kind of in order at least of the top 5 things I'm most excited about.
It was one of the bigger games that a lot of people tended to talk about. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those bigger games, and it's first party. That's why. So like,
Yeah.
you know, uh, I'm excited for it though, and I can't wait to play it.
Oh, definitely.
Which was
And then I know
announced after
then
that.
the next one was one that you kind of talked about. We got spoiled before the whole Nintendo leaker kind of got found out, and not shockingly, Nintendo wanted that to go away. But the Nintendo World Championship NES Edition. Obviously,
Yeah,
we've been teased about that a while ago.
yeah. I pre-ordered it. You know, what, a month ago maybe it might have been.
Yeah, because it comes out on July 18th.
Yeah, so it's like real soon. Cool, very cool. It's online play. New games, you're playing these classic games as like a multiplayer game, competing to get through. It has online play. So
It's got some of that Royale type stuff from I guess they call it survival mode. But where like you're playing against other people and stuff like that. Like live, you're both going trying to like have better times and stuff.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. It's very unique. It's a niche game. It's definitely targeting people that like retro. Not entirely. It's gonna sell. This game's gonna sell. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but it's the audience that grew up with some of these games. Maybe remember this event when it happened and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited about it, and I definitely think I want to talk about that one. I got the box set, but here's the thing. I also pre-ordered. They're both Amazon, so I actually haven't been charged for them yet until they ship. But I also pre-ordered the Japanese version simply because it comes with the Famicom controllers. And those Famicom controllers, you could only get those on Nintendo Japan, the Club Nintendo for Japan. Not Club Nintendo, sorry. Their store, online store. Same with those. How that 64 controller keeps selling out. Like eBay, it's $120. That's why I've been wanting those. I already wanted those to begin with. Like I already wanted them. I was gonna find a way to import those. But now that's how I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna open up and import it. I really like the Famicom controllers. I think they're very unique. So I'm pretty excited about it.
No, definitely. As well as I think they advertise it. There's also like a tips and tricks page, kind of like an old like magazine stuff like within the game. I think is pretty neat that they add extra stuff they didn't need to add, but they did anyways.
Yeah,
they're like, hey, this might be the ideal way to like maximize how you're running, because it is kind of like a quasi kind of like a speed run essentially. Is how you have to treat it.
Exactly.
So I wonder how many people this will be like their first foray into like actual speed running.
Because
obviously it's a lot more simpler when it's you're going left to right compared to, hey, I need to glitch through a wall to essentially speed run.
Yeah, those were good
but I wonder how
times,
many
though.
people this will be their first experience and stuff like that, might actually get them into the greater speedrunning community, or at the very least have more of like a passing interest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's cool, and maybe it'll bring people into actually like wanting to speedrun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be, oh, this is actually like really fun. Let me.
Because sometimes
this.
you'd watch it. It's obviously not the same with this, but like the old like SNES, the old games from like the NES and the SNES. It's like, hey, this is how you speedrun it. Like, well, technically, the pixels hitting the enemy because you jump this way, but it's not actually hitting the character boss. Like how some people discover like the most like ideal way to speedrun it. It's like, hey, you can give this much room left or right in your character, because obviously it's not pixel perfect for your actual hitbox and how you like interact with the environments.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty stoked about it. I think it's going to be cool. I'm excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's not like what Sonic 06 where you can just pause and unpause this forever. Just skip the
bestiality. Oh my god, you know that, right?
But...
What do you mean? Instead of Amy, there's a human woman. They replace Amy with a human woman. The story is about
that. I don't know if you would. I don't know if I would go that far.
Oh,
that's a whole other route we could really go down, but I don't want to go down that route right now.
Well, I've got them all pulled up, but they are not in order. So if you have an order, feel free to go to the next ones.
For what? Oh no, because I actually pulled up the direct to make sure we're going.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
So the next one, the Fairy Tale 2 game. Obviously, it's another third-party game. I can't imagine it's being a Switch exclusive, but
No way. No way.
I mean, it's we got a quick little thing about the Fairy Tale 2 game. Never actually watched more than like 10 episodes of this anime.
Yeah, it's
But
one
it's
that I
coming.
know.
They say it's coming this winter, so I assume, I don't maybe holiday season, but it's another Koei Tecmo game.
I will say
Uh,
I thought it looked kind of cool, but
we got
again, I
more.
watched 4 or 5 episodes of the anime, and I just never
Yeah,
did anything else with it. I
to
didn't.
me it's hit or miss, but we
It's
got more like straight cutscene than any actual like gameplay. So it's kind of
yes,
hard to tell
and
whether I'd be even interested in that at all or
exactly.
not.
But the gameplay I did see looked kind of cool, but it was barely there. I haven't
They're
played
like,
the
hey,
first game.
this game's like another 9 months from coming out, so we're just gonna show you the standard trailer with no actual gameplay to hopefully hype you up. So within another 6 months, when we actually come out and actually show you the gameplay, you'll be even more interested. That's like the standard route that every game studio goes.
Right.
Trailer with no gameplay, and then when it's closer, then you actually start getting gameplay.
I am just getting these posts up while we're doing this, but what do we
No, you're fine.
got
That
next?
was more like a smaller one, but the next one that we got was Fantasian Neo Dimension,
Okay, so
which
this
seems really interesting.
this is very an important game, I'll say. And basically this game was stuck as a mobile game, but it was really more of like a console or hand it was so let me look up what the one thing was that I read.
What you're trying to think, because I know they said it was created by the Final Fantasy creator.
Yeah, it was created by
Yeah,
him. So it's like its own game, has nothing to do with that. It has
has the
a
old
static, it
turn-based
has
combat.
yeah, it looks like it's geared towards old school gamers or, stuff like that. It's old school RPG, it looks like.
Yeah, it has that old school art, like more. I don't know. I'd say more
It's
JRPG, but that's just kind of what that genre's become.
well, I mean, it's what we're not getting from Final Fantasy right now.
Yeah,
Basically,
but
you know what I
it
mean?
looks like it's got that old, fixed camera, turn-based combat, but with obviously modern graphics. So it's got like a really unique take on the old gameplay with modern graphics.
Yeah.
A lot more than what we normally get, which is just indie level. It just looks like a game from the 90s with just you have more pixels on the screen to work with, so everything looks a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. But this looks like there's actual. It's like a 3D environment, but obviously you're stuck with one dimension that you're looking at through, and all the the effects and stuff like that look pretty cool. Like they were looking at like one attack, but like you were able to like curve it, and you could see all the enemies you were gonna hit with it and stuff like that. So it seemed pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure. It did. Absolutely.
Yeah, and they said that game is supposed to come out holiday 2024, so probably November December timeframe is when
Yeah.
we'll see that game.
I think this is a game I definitely want to check out. I'm so glad that a game like this is not stuck to mobile now. That was a
Which is
thing.
unfortunate. A
Yeah.
lot of these games, especially, I feel like a lot of these games are like it's stuck on mobile, but it's mobile Japan only. And then when it gets taken off the online store, that's it. The game's gone forever.
And like they're doing that because it's the biggest market. And it's understandable. I know we don't necessarily like it in particular.
Because once that game's gone, there's no other way to access it. It's on a mobile platform game store, so essentially it's impossible, almost impossible to play outside of if you downloaded it and you just keep it on your phone.
Yeah, I am so thankful that they brought it to console so that one, it's preserved. And now I wouldn't necessarily say that more people have access to it, but I think more people have interest in it. Because
Yeah, like this feels like a game that if it's on mobile, you're just gonna ignore it more often than not.
yeah, I know I'm that way. Like some of the series I love, I will like download. I'll download it and try it. I showed you that Sonic game. I played 3 levels. I thought it was really good, but I hate mobile. I hate playing mobile.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, just like I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know what all it is. It's just I don't like it. And like there have been Final Fantasy games that are no longer available that were stuck on mobile. A bunch. There was a bunch. All kinds of Final Fantasy games that have never been brought to console.
yeah, it's the same thing. Like like Honkai Star Rail. I think it's decent. I just don't like playing on mobile, so I don't play the game. Obviously, that's a whole different, the whole gotcha. Some of those games do come to console, but I think there's decent games that get marketed to a mobile market. But the problem is, it's stuck there forever, and there's no other way to play it outside of somebody recorded the story and put it up on like YouTube or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. And it preserves it, and like I said, we lost a lot of Final Fantasy games. I'm trying to think of the one in specifically the name of it. I can't remember. I played it. I didn't play a ton of it, but I really liked it, and it had a lot of characters on screen in the battlefield. It was still that turn-based RPG, but you had like a ton of characters. I can't remember what it was, but there have been several Final Fantasy games that were stuck on mobile and no longer available. And Mr. Coffee,
Yeah,
he said that he's got some of those games that wouldn't be supported with new devices. That's true as well.
yeah,
So
because you can't update. Because I think the other one, there was a near game called Near Reincarnation that came out in 2021, but it's stuck on mobile, Android, iOS, essentially.
yeah,
Uh, but it's like that's a great series. Why are you forcing this to be stuck on mobile?
yeah, I get why they're putting it there, but I don't like that it's
But like
stuck
release
there.
it elsewhere at the very least.
Yeah, that's how
Because the other games, like when I play a game on my phone, it's not an RPG. It's a like a solitaire or a brick breaker. It's something that's I can pull up for 10 minutes, kill some time if I'm doing something else or I'm waiting on something, and then put it away. Like if I'm playing an RPG, that's gonna take several. I would say several hours. I'm not gonna be on my phone that long, but at least it's gonna take you probably at least 10 to 30 minutes of your time to get something done. And sometimes when you're playing something on your phone, I just don't have that much time. It could be 5 minutes, it might be 20 minutes, but I don't really know, what I'm gonna be doing or something like that.
yeah,
So like I don't look at mobile games like I do regular gaming. It's more of like a time killer for that could take me like 5 minutes to get something done.
and my other thing is, yes, I know there's the do not disturb option, but it's that fact of you just keep getting notifications. And then also, like, for me with my phone, I see this as essentially a work device. I don't do a ton of, I listen to my YouTube and stuff on it a lot, but like most of the time when I'm using my phone, I'm doing something work related or doing something with Game Junction. So it's like, it's that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm just like, want to get off of the phone and play something if I want to do
Yeah.
that. So,
As well as that near reincarnation game I mentioned, it also got shut down this past April. So it existed for 3 years. Like
wow.
game's gone forever unless Square Enix decides to release it elsewhere. It's now essentially, if you didn't get it back then, it's a dead game. It's gone. You can't ever play it. Hopefully somebody recorded the story somewhere else that we can at least figure out what was going on within the story. And while it
Yeah.
might not be the same quality of a game developed for PC and console, some people want to play these games. They just don't want to play it on a phone.
And that's me. I mean, I'm that target audience.
It's that whole game preservation as a whole that just makes it impossible to preserve these games.
Which I'm very passionate about. I think all these games took people's time. I I I guarantee just about every game there's somebody on that team who literally put everything into it. Like this was, they were seeing the game and developing a way like they were excited. So like this is people's work. I think all media needs to be preserved. I mean, look, here's the thing: our government preserves books. We have a library, but
Yeah.
I don't think that
I
they're preserving any like media, right?
I mean, some they are obviously. So when it comes to like movies, a lot of the early ones are just more or less lost to time because it just wasn't. They
Which
weren't
is,
properly
yeah, that
preserved.
sucks.
Early 1900s, but media like books, like especially books and even stuff like movies and TV shows, those are far easier to preserve than like interactive media. Just because it's developed for something very specific that might be very hard to impossible to port somewhere else at the very least at a decent quality. That requires certain different inputs that change over time. That actually requires more effort to preserve games. So I do see the challenges as well as if you're going to put time and effort into something like cost money, And then, is this profitable compared to movies, TV, books, where you can just kind of, I don't want to say straight copy and paste, but you can turn a movie into like an MPEG file, and then that's good. You can then very easily spread that across 10 different storage devices and very easily pull it up and watch it. Or a book, either you can just reprint the same paper, or at the very least you can scan it in, make a bunch of copies of it's like a Word document or like a PDF, and that's very easy to distribute and save. Where with video games it requires user interaction. So if you don't have the original device it was made for, the original inputs, uh, you can in theory save it, but have no way to play it. Or if you want to be able to play it on something else, you have to go into the code or however you need to do it to hopefully make it playable. But if it's not profitable per se, there's no incentive to go and do it.
I agree with you. I mean, you've got the problem of you have to have the hardware, so you're gonna have to have multiple of the hardware that's saved to even be able to access the media. When we talk about film, we're going back to like the original film strips being preserved, right? Like that's a big thing. If you don't have that, you don't have a way to really remaster a movie. That you cannot. When they bring a lot of those boutique movies to 4K or Blu-ray, they were doing Blu-ray, now they're like focused on 4K. They're working from the original film. You know what I mean?
You need to, or else you're just putting it
Like-
on a Blu-ray,
like
but it's the original quality, more or less.
Yeah, they're not just upscaled. Like you see the film grain from that actual film strip.
Yeah.
So like I love that. They're taking the actual movie, what was filmed on the film strip, and they're remastering it that way. And that's the cool thing about these boutique companies. Now, most, not all, there are a few that do, just a couple, but most of the ones that are brought from, like, say, DVD to 4K or VHS to 4K, if it's a big company, it's just upscale. It looks better. It still looks better. It's still going to look better.
But it's just
not being
easier
remastered and redone.
But at the very least, it's just easier and cheaper to at least, it's still preserved. It might not be the ideal way to watch it, but you can still watch it in such a way. I think the other issue with games is it feels like there's just there's far more different mediums when it comes to playing games, when it comes to the input, but it also feels like there's just so many more games than movies and TV shows, because the amount of studios, the audience, the quality of games is far different, especially when you go straight into the indie studio scene, where it's just like, how many teams of like 1 to 5 people make games every year, push them out, and they're just kind of they're out there, but they're really hard to kind of break through.
Yeah, Mr. Coffee was saying, going back to the mobile games, he said the Doom RPG is stuck on like 2nd or 3rd gen iPhone. So if you have those, you can access it. If you got a new one, you can't access these games. A Doom RPG, that's so cool, dude. That's really cool. I wonder if it's good. I do remember seeing the trailer for it, and it was really cool stuff. But he also said book, movie, even music has a smaller pool of talent that made them. And a video game has
that item. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I
don't have glasses.
I don't have my glasses. I am struggling here. He said, plus game preservation is something the gaming market is doing now, but there are countless other games just gone. No one thought about saving the source code. Yes, that's the other problem. That's the other problem. So, I am like extremely passionate about preservation to the point where I have had a couple of people send out beta carts to me. So I've gotten to see a giant N64 beta cart, and I dumped the ROM for them, sent them the ROM, let them decide what they're going to do with it, but I just dumped it. I have a way to do that. I forget what the thing's called, but basically it's got all the cartridge slots to be able to dump the games onto your PC. So there has been several, and there's only one person that I sent the ROM, I guess I sent him the ROM just to him, but I think that he put it up. I'm not 100% sure, but there's been 2 Game Boy games as well that were beta carts where they're making the game. So if you've ever seen some of those Game Boy beta cards, like they don't look like Game Boy cards. They're this tall, like tall different card that has like maybe a sticker with the title written on it that they're working on. um, and they're really neat. It's fascinating. I am so passionate about preservation that I have talked about this many times. I would love to be able to open up like a museum. The problem is that things like that have to be able to kind of be they have to sustain themselves, you know, taking the space, continually getting new stuff to bring in there. It takes a
Yeah.
lot. So I actually am talking to someone actively right now about potentially doing that with old computers and old video games, basically all like electronics. But it takes a lot. And like I will happily, and I'll say it again, I've said it many times before in the podcast. If you have anything out there, if you have a beta cart of any kind of development cart, you're more than welcome to send it to me. I will even pay for shipping back to you just because you let that happen and save the game. Because eventually that cart is just going to die.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna lose it. So if we don't get this stuff dumped and put online or saved somewhere or archive.org, massive, very important place. Archiving so many things that it's like absolutely insane. Like they archive like even band demos, like Slayer's original demo before they ever released an album,
Yeah.
Metallica's I think it's the No Life Till Leather. Like they've got all that stuff preserved on there. So, and like I'm talking like the original cassette and then the CD release, the vinyl release. So the different sounds. Um, and game preservation, you know, media preservation is just more difficult than it is a book to begin with.
Yeah.
So, but at the same token, they're taking those books, trying to not destroy them, and copy and save all of the pages and
While also
however
keeping
they,
the book intact the best they
yeah,
can as well.
exactly. So they are like actually trying to preserve the book, not just let it rot at the library, because eventually, I mean, that's just gonna tear down.
It's paper. It's not glass forever, which I think is also like as far as books, like it's important to at least get a digital copy of that because then you can from there you can reprint. At the very least, can you read the medium?
Right.
It's not the ideal. You still want the books. Do what you best, but at the very least, you have access to read them in some way.
Yeah, he said there's another mobile game you forgot to mention, Kingdom Heart Union Cross, that came out in mobile. I told you about this game before. It came out only in
I'm not a
Japan.
Kingdom Hearts fan.
It came out only in Japan. And then there was also Kingdom Hearts where we got like a remaster of it. Hold on.
Yeah, you have to pull that up because I have no idea. I know there's like 3 mainline games that took like
You
15 years
really
to make.
Kingdom Hearts Recoded. So Kingdom Hearts Code was a what you know he's talking about was a Japanese mobile game release only, and it was part of the story. Like it was part of the story, and it
And
never
it's
came out here.
stuck on mobile. That doesn't make any sense.
So
Why you're making this decision?
so thankfully they did end up remastering it for the DS, but still that original version of the game, you know, isn't preserved. It's still that's a different game. It looks completely different. It's not just, you know, thrown on the DS. It's called Recoded. They remastered it. So
Oh yeah, because I pulled up the platform was NTT
yeah,
Docomo, which is a Japanese mobile phone provider essentially, or telecommunications company.
yeah, and like okay, so did you know that in Japan they had a device that you could access. Essentially, you put your Pokemon cart inside this device and we're able to get internet access. And you could actually battle people online. And it costs you like either per minute or per battle. I can't remember. So like you would get charged for that every time that happened. But like I had no idea about this until recently. I think it's absolutely insane the original games, you were able to play online and you were able to go into a special Pokemon Center that's not in the baseline game. Like it's insane, and it's this mobile attachment that you do with the phone. I think it's crazy. It's
I think it's
absolutely
crazy what how they were doing stuff with internet on their platform, especially if you look at the Famicom the
Satellaview.
satellite, yeah, the Satellaview, the stuff they were doing well before internet gaming outside of PC gaming was like really a thing.
and
But it
and
was always just stuck in Japan.
yeah, thank God most of that is preserved. I think we have all of it preserved now. I'm not 100% sure,
I
but
thought a few
I
things
have
were
bought.
gone, like wasn't some of like the Zelda games, like
Oh,
some of the
so
the you had to play
the
at a certain
live
time.
chapters, the ones they did the live chapters for, where you had
Yeah.
like an hour, yeah, that was a problem. It's a really cool concept, but not being able to put that out, and like did you know they remade the original Zelda game for the Satellaview?
Yeah, and I think it's just stuck there, so you don't have it. I don't even
It's
know if those things even exist anymore.
it's like what's it called, Mario Superstars. Like that's what they did. It was the next console, and they remade Zelda for it's just crazy to me. um and it sucks, man. Like it sucks. I want these games to be preserved, and it has nothing to do with being for me. I want this is part of history and having some kind of impact and caring enough about media that you know 200 years in the future, people have access to check out what gaming was back then. It's going to be like the Stone
Yeah.
Age to them, but hey, it's there and they can learn about it. And I'm sure that it'll be in some sort of curriculum for school.
Yeah.
The history of video games class, something.
And then just because we're still on this topic, and I just wanted to kind of move through it because I put something a little further down on a little topic section, definitely about this, because I watched a video. Let me pull it up. So if you've ever heard of the YouTuber Tech Tangents, he did a video about 2 months ago about the digital decay of 2000s PC game DRM. That I watched earlier this week. Because the thing was like, hey, there's some older game, like computer games specifically, that you can plug in, play, no problem. But there's some newer games, like if you have like I think he said like physical editions for PC for like I think it's Red Faction Guerrilla or like Half-Life 2,
I have
where
both of
the
those physically.
DRM on those games mean you just can't play them
Yeah.
at all with the physical media. You either have to either
Yeah.
they're unplayable or you have to be able to buy them elsewhere.
Yeah.
As well as he kind of goes into the whole issue with games preservation, like games as a service. The whole Overwatch 1, that game is just, it's worthless. That game doesn't exist anymore. It's just gone forever. It's like a bigger issue with games preservation, as especially with like the games as a service and mobile games specifically, where it's just like when that game's gone, it's gone forever. Like you don't have any access to this game, any access to the time or the money you put into this game. No way to even have like a fan server. Essentially, it's just gone, ripped away from you.
Yeah,
And like the frustration with stuff like that.
it sucks. I mean, and like things like that, we're just progressively moving forward where more and more and more of that is going to happen. I got Gotham Knights for $5 during that Walmart sale. I bet by the time I open that up and put it in, they're probably going to have that game closed down.
Yeah,
I'm going to
probably.
pop it in at some point and try it out, but it's a bummer, man. It truly is, cuz like that means you do not own your games, and that's where we're moving forward to, you know? And
Yeah, completely. The
Xbox.
whole what's it? The whole Ubisoft is like you're just not going to own your games, and it just sours a big a faction of the gaming community. Because I've seen people where it's like I don't like you put out bad games, so I'm not going to buy it. There's other people who it's like on principle, like I just can't support you when you come out and say stuff like that because or the whole thing is like, well, if I don't own it, is it really stealing at that point, or the whole issue, especially when it comes to like piracy and stuff
Yeah,
like
if
that.
it's not accessible, then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ride
Because
the ride the
if
high
you really want to,
seas.
if you really want to go down the whole piracy issue, most people don't do it just because they're cheap. Piracy is a problem because you don't have access to whatever you want to play or watch or something like that. That's what drives piracy.
Like
Is access to certain stuff.
a lot of people would buy the Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch to have it on their
You don't
Switch.
you don't offer them, so they have no way other than to just essentially go online and find a copy.
Yeah, because I mean the problem is now that each of these games, not every single one, but like a couple for each video game system is stuck to that game system.
I mean,
So,
they kind of did it with the 3DS
oh yeah, I'm
online
sorry,
store
they did do
because
it
I
with
had
the
access to a lot
3DS.
of those. But when that went away, pretty much your access to everything pre-Switch Pokemon is gone. There's no legal way to get these games anymore, and
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's gone, and there is no accessible way right now to get those games. So, I mean, it's like, what are we supposed to do? You know,
Yeah.
why are they doing this? I feel like there's a reason. I would have thought that they would just sell them to us individually because it would sell like gangbusters.
Yeah, they
Uh,
will in like 10 years when they do one at a time, and they're just going to trickle it down, and you'll have to
oh,
still have to have
that's
multiple consoles to play them
well, I'm
probably.
just talking about putting them on the eShop, like instead of doing
Or
NSO. People
they
would
could
buy
do
that.
NSO. These are old games that you've already made your profit. Just put it on the NSO.
How about the NSO where there are the special versions of a bunch of games?
I don't know how you do it with Pokemon, but I mean,
No,
both the
no, I'm not
original
saying Pokemon, but
and the remakes of some of those old games, you could just put on NSO. Obviously, there's a bigger issue with the DS games, but like it's not that hard to port these to the NSO. I just feel like there's no incentive for Nintendo and Game Freak to even entertain that. I'm like, are you really losing money if you re-release yellow version on the NSO, a game nobody's really gonna buy?
yeah, I mean,
A
I
game that's
don't
like 30 years old at this point.
I don't know. Like I would buy it to have it on my Switch in current hardware. Like it was great 3DS stuff. I completely forgot about that, but now you can't
Yeah, yeah,
access it.
yeah. That's the problem. And they were like, even if you
Like
just bought the OG versions, like the first two gens, it was like $5 for those games. Like it was dirt cheap, mainly because they didn't have the equivalent of Nintendo Switch Online. But it's just like I don't get why you don't do. If you want more people on Nintendo Switch Online, put some of these older Pokemon games on there.
yeah, I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me why, and I don't get the decision with a lot of companies, but like that Overwatch, for instance. I mean, people it became a meme of, going to use it as a coaster and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. There's so many of these games. Destiny 1 and 2 are going to be the same way, right? Like they're
Well, yeah.
eventually
Once the servers support
they're
shuts
done.
down, the game's gone. You
They
have no
have
access to it.
they have no single player,
If you
correct?
if you put $500 into that game, you're just gone. All that stuff's gone. No, because these are fully live service. The same thing with MMOs. These are just server based games. You don't have none of that game is locally on your hardware.
How about the games that are single player where you have to be connected, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for instance? You
Well, yeah,
have to connect to the internet to play it.
that's the same problem. Because especially when I was watching this video, that's the problem with some of these games. Like, say if you have the original version of Half-Life 2 on a disc for PC, the problem is the way it checks for DRM. There's no way to verify it, so you just can't play the game. Essentially, it's some of the same issue with a lot of this
It's
stuff. It's like if there's any required internet service that is no longer supported, it's just a paperweight. Essentially, it's a disc that's useless because you can't access it.
yeah, it makes no sense. I don't like it. Um, it sucks, man. It sucks. I don't like it at all. Like, I think the preservation of this stuff is very important in history. I think a lot of this stuff is going to end up being like a regret of not having saved it when there was options to do so. Um,
Yeah.
it
Well, I
sucks.
don't think these
And,
companies care,
well, I'll tell
but
you
the
who else
players
doesn't
themselves
care.
like it.
I'll tell you who else doesn't care because I've seen it in the Facebook groups many times over the years. There will be collectors where the development carts or the beta game, whatever, say Game Boy Color, they're the only one in the world that owns it. They're not sharing it. That is my biggest problem. When people do that, infuriates me. I can't even believe they want to feel so special they got something that nobody else can ever have. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I
I
don't
was like,
like
oh,
it.
they're like, oh no, unless you pay me money. Like I only care about the investment. It's just the greed, and it's just that stuff that's just frustrating. At that point, you're like, have at it. No, hope nobody buys it from you, and everybody else is just gonna, get it through illicit means at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, those people that have one of one cards that, I mean, nobody else has it. It is nowhere. I just don't like that. And I have encountered and personally spoke with a bunch of people like that. People that are in like the what's a Facebook group, high end video game collectors or something like that, or whatever. It's like, share the crazy stuff. I saw, and I will see if I can pull it up actually. because this is absolutely insane. And it was one of my grails for like a long time, but I just gave up on it because the cost just kept going up and up and up, and it was just unaffordable. I will see if I can find it here in a minute. But just there's like, there's people that want to collect the high end stuff that there's either one of, or there's not very many out there. Very high end items that were not meant to be stuck around. Like these promo items. Like for me, GameStop, I ask them every time I went there today. I'm going to show off in a little bit what I got. I'm absolutely thrilled with getting something pretty cool. It looks like we got some comments. You want to check over those real quick?
No, yeah. Just where we left off. Some stuff from Mr. Coffee. Forget the people in political office still look down on video games because they're old. Yeah, at least when it comes to like something official. But
That's
I think
true.
when it comes to game preservation or any kind of media preservation, you have to take it on your shoulders if you want to preserve something. You can't just hope that somebody else kind of does it. Like you gotta take that initiative on your own.
And you have to care. You have to be a person, because there's a lot of people that don't care.
Most of these people that are into preserving games, they preserve it because they've got a passion and interest. They do it because they want to. When it comes to a lot of these, community made, media preservation stuff. New media still jumps on the whole video game can cause horrible. Yeah, it's always frustrating.
Sure is.
I was saying there were some PC games that came with a physical security, like a pinwheel, where you had to match symbols to get numbers to validate your game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like an older.
There was a lot of
DRM.
big box PC games where you would literally need to use the stuff in the box to play the game. Like you would
So stupid.
I mean, for the time, it was not stupid though. It was really cool. Like you had to spin the wheel and try to find the secret code for like things in the game. There are games like that I think are absolutely amazing.
I mean, I get it, but yeah, once that's
for the time,
there's no long-term thing. Like, well, when this is gone, how do you access that stuff?
But the beginning of video games, like we're talking like early stuff here. We're talking real early. This is not a thought. I
got a 2024 view of stuff that happened 25 years ago.
Yeah, they didn't have that view back then. I mean, none of that did. Like Atari carts, you can find them all the time at conventions. Some of them work, some of them don't. They are going to completely die. The way that they are made, they will just die. And a lot of them are already gone and dead. They just don't work. Unfortunately, I forget what it's called. The DRAM, I think. Is that the name? I can't remember what's on the cart, but on the Atari carts, it just dies. And I mean, at this point, how old they are, like, it happens. So that's why we need it preserved. And there's a lot of, I know there's.
Was it ERAM you were thinking?
Yeah, ERAM. Yep, ERAM. So
Mr. Coffee commented that.
Thank you. And that's what the carts die. So, and I have personally picked up lots of games where and I did everything in my power to make sure it was working. Whether I want to keep that or not, like I will take the time. I'm sorry, to make sure that it's clean and good and going to work. Even if it's going with somebody else and I'm selling it, like I want this to be accessible right now, because that means somebody wants to experience that game. So, and I think every generation of video games matters. I think it matters from the beginning to now. To me, Space Wars, Pong, all that stuff. I've gotten to actually play that. Crazy enough, I've been able to play the actual arcade units, and it's just insane. Like, it is so cool. I mean, it is just so. It's like you're traveling back in history for a minute. Like, that's what it feels like. Playing the original Pong machine is so cool, so unique. I just, I love it. I think it's great, and I get excited I'm passionate about games. I'm passionate about media. That's all there is to it. It's what I love, and it's the same for you. I mean, with anime and video games and all that stuff, you are passionate about physical media as well, but not just physical media, just media in general. Like, it matters to you. You want to be able to know what those Tenchi Muyo games, the ones that for the PCFX, like what happens with those games. Because I looked it up and they do have story. And there's just...
I guess the answer that I think we have to go, because obviously there's so much you can do with physical media. It has a end of life, and it's just easier and more accessible, especially with some of these older games. That eventually, emulation is just the way you're gonna have to go. Like that's where game preservation is. It's I think it's just the cold hard truth, because eventually this physical media, it's gonna be impossible to replicate, and what is there is eventually just the hardware is eventually just gonna die, regardless of how it's made.
Yeah, and I'll let you guys know a little hack. The only thing right now that's going to last the rest of your life, for you at least, that you'll never have to worry about are 4K Blu-ray discs. So, PS5 discs, like actual 4K Blu-ray movies, those discs are going to survive the rest of your lifetime. Uh, Blu-ray is not made the same way the DVDs are with the layers.
Yeah.
They will last. And that's the problem with, like, for instance, for a lot of games, the game was much, much better on the 360 versus the PS3 version. But the 360 went with the DVD disc. And, PS3 went with the Blu-ray. So those are going to outlast significantly those games.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Sony is smart to do that, but it is their proprietary form of media, like
Or it
Sony.
used to be.
Well, no, they own it. Xbox sales.
I thought Sony sold off the rights to somebody else for Blu-ray.
Oh, we'll have to look that up, because we did talk about something. I thought that was with the Disney movies.
I thought we talked about this before. We can double check.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but I know if that's the case, for a very long time, they were getting like a very small sale from every Xbox One, every Series X game, any Wii U games, anything that took the Blu-ray disc format. Sony owns it. It's not under the PlayStation brand, obviously, but Disney has reached a licensing deal with Sony under which the latter's home entertainment division will handle Disney releases on DVD and Blu-ray. That's what we covered. I remember that. The Disney movie, because they did away with the Disney movie club. And a lot of those.
No, because I thought you said I thought you said something along the lines of Sony used to own the rights to Blu-ray, and then they sold it off.
Here's February 2024.
But I don't know. I might be wrong on that.
And it says that Disney strikes deal for Sony to take over its DVD Blu-ray disc business. So I don't know. So there is an article saying that they're striking a deal, but I can't answer if the deal happened. But regardless, like, it is their. If that is the case, and they sold it, it's still like is the media that they made. So like that makes sense that PS3 were Blu-ray discs and 360 weren't. I wish they were, because so many of those games are better on the 360, performance-wise, gameplay-wise, visually, and it kind of makes no sense because it should be the PS3, considering it's on a Blu-ray, it's on a better disc, but it just wasn't the case. So
yeah, so from what I saw, Sony has a majority holding on to it, but it's apparently also owned in part, or it used to be also owned between Sony and Panasonic, but I think it's strictly Sony now. Cause I don't know if Panasonic's might have become a subsidiary or been bought out. Because apparently it was developed and joint between Sony and Panasonic, but I think only Sony and somebody else owns it right now. Or yeah, I don't know, everything's kind of changed. It's nothing's like cut forward, at least the way I wanna look at it.
Right.
But I guess I'd make the assumption that probably Sony still, at the very least, has some
stake in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it would seem a little crazy if they sold off that format, considering they're making money for all the systems that are doing that, and they have since the PS3, Wii U, and I mean, I don't think we're getting 8K Blu-ray right now. It's like there have been murmurs of that. I'm sure eventually that'll happen, but it seems like they wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know why they would. I can't imagine, unless it was a massive, massive number to sell. I can't imagine why they would. They're making money off of every one of those sales, but at the same time, we're at about 75% digital for most people. Switch is the only one where physical sells more than digital. That's crazy, right? Switch sells more physical than digital. It's crazy
Surprising that I don't think that
because
surprises me because
it makes sense though for
the
digital on a
mem-
Switch.
but the
Now I have to
memory's
change the
bad.
cart. The carts, so I have to change all the carts all the time. Traveling with the small little tiny carts. Like
Well, some of the cases kind of have stuff built in, but I think I think the problem with digital on the Switch is the memory is just too small for some of those games.
it is.
When you have like 72 gigs, and some of your bigger games can take 10 to 15 of that up, like it very quickly can fill up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I still want to get I'm at it's the one below 1 terabyte. I can't remember the size. It's but I want to get a terabyte SD card because I have more than enough games that would fill that 1 terabyte up. Like, so I'm, having to delete games all the time. And I want to make sure at some point, I can have all the games on my system and just not have to worry about it. So we'll see, there's that company that makes the, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's the Nintendo Switch game, like changer where you can put like 5, 6, 7 carts in it or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and it attaches in. I think that's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, because there is something about having to get the carts out. I don't know why. Like I like getting the carts out for the Switch less. Like I'm like, oh god, because I think the reason is because the way the home screen's set up, it's just like right there. You know what I mean? Like you click it, oh,
Yeah.
you don't have the game in. Like, oh crap, forgot I took it out last night. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's it's a game switcher, 8 slots, so you can have 8 games in there at once. Very neat. Um,
Yeah.
very neat stuff. So,
But I guess we can go after that nice little tangent. Go back to the actual, some of the direct discussion. I don't know how we got so far.
this is what we do.
Yeah, it's crazy how stuff goes. But the next thing that we talked about was for the Switch Sports game, they're adding
Yes.
basketball, which has up to like 4-player local play
Yes.
between like you're trying to shoot baskets as well as like a 2v2 essentially.
It
So
makes
it's a quick little update to the game.
it makes me happy that they did add an update and that they are still supporting that game. I still think Wii Sports Resort is the best game to play in the series.
It just has a better controller.
Yeah, you can use a Wii Motion Plus with it, so when you do the sword fighting, it's like it's so dang accurate that it's crazy.
Yeah, but this the free update for that basketball is coming. They say summer 2024, so the next 1 to 3 months, something like that.
I bought that game day one, and I was not impressed. I think that if you find it for like $30, definitely grab it. But
It's not a $60 game.
It wasn't a $60 game to me. It felt very lackluster at launch. So I'm glad they added something to it. Free update. That's cool.
What do you think of the next game we had? Mio Memories in Orbit.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you what you think about this game because I'm kind of mixed on it. I thought
I don't know what to feel about it. I
Yeah,
think it's got an interesting art design. Whether it's a game that I would actually play, I can't really say. But it has a really interesting, that whole comic book-esque art style to it.
yeah, it's really
Like
cool
a
looking.
cartoony comic book where it's got the hard outlines and stuff like that. Because it feels like an indie game, but it's got a unique 3D aspect of it in the whole side scroller, like the whole 2D 3D feel to it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm watching the trailer back right now to
Yeah, because this game comes out sometime next year.
like it looks really good. You just don't get much info about the game. The art style is very cool. It reminds me of Borderlands, the art style.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I
it's
was thinking about as well.
like the art style is like Borderlands-esque. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I need to see more of this game. Like I'm looking at some screenshots even too. It looks cool. I love the aesthetic of the game, but I don't feel like I know the gameplay at all, like what they're
I
going
feel like
for
that's what they
here.
kind of showed us was a lot was the gameplay. It's the whole left right combat type stuff.
Well, I'm watching the trailer back here, and I'm seeing story. There must be another trailer. Oh, you're right. Okay, I am seeing. I am
I'm about to say
seeing. So it
it's
is
only one
like
trailer.
it's like this weird. It's like this weird Rayman Legends, essentially type of platformer. It seems like.
Yeah.
I'm sure Metroidvania esque. Everything is now.
I don't know. I didn't feel that when I watched the
Well,
trailer.
I did because of some of the bosses and how they're stuck in the room exactly like Metroid or Castlevania. It might not have the other elements. I don't know. I just don't know enough about the game.
I
But
mean,
those
we're still
bosses, it looked like a Metroid game when they were in the boss room. So
uh,
to
agree to
me,
disagree, but
I mean, like I'm
I don't know.
looking
But I
back.
mean,
If you
but
look
that
at
game.
101 on the trailer, you'll see what I'm talking about. It looks exactly like a boss from not Resident Evil, Castlevania or Metroid. And
I mean a little bit.
and essentially really the game itself kind of just does look like those platforms. The way that you're jumping with those platforms kind of looks like Metroid. You know, there's a bunch of like 7 different platforms in a row that you got to get up to, and I don't know. We'll have to
I don't
see.
know.
Like I just
There's a lot
don't
of there's a
know
lot of
enough.
when you do side scrolling, you tend to have platforming in general. So I don't know if that alone would classify as Metroidvania, but
So basically, you're calling me stupid, but
no, I saw it differently, but
no,
just
I mean, yeah, you're good.
difference of opinions right there. But I mean that game comes out, at the earliest another what 7 months, 6 7 months before that game comes out.
Something like that. I feel like they're filling out the rest of life for the Switch,
Yeah.
in a
So
good way. In a
I
good
guess
way.
we'll see, or there's a chance it could be cross-platform depending on when the Switch successor
Yeah,
comes out. So,
yeah, it very much could be.
and then I don't know what you feel about this next one. But I'm just gonna say I didn't care for it. But did you have any interest in the Disney Illusion Island game?
So, give me just a second.
As he now has to go grab something else. I'm not a Disney fan straight up, so title alone, I just don't care for it.
I wanted this game at launch, and I'll explain why. Castle of Illusion on the Sega Genesis, and then the Super Nintendo games, those platforming games, they are beloved, dare I say, cult classic retro games. Like, people love those games. I do too. I played all of them. And this is a sequel to that. And the art style is beautiful. So I just got this, and here's what I did. I opened it up, I updated it, and I got that DLC. I have played roughly like an hour of it. I love it. I love it. This is a game I want to go back to, and I was thinking about it earlier today when I got to play some of it. I was actually thinking about it. The platforming is just so fun. And to get a sequel, a direct sequel to those, is like pretty crazy. Like this is a direct sequel to the Illusion series. So I think it's really
Yeah,
cool. Disney's like hit or miss with me.
it's more miss than hit,
But this is
that's personal opinion.
a nostalgia thing that they're kind of doing, and
Yeah,
it's that kind of gameplay, and they just added all the story bit to it for free. I mean, and this is a, I believe, $40 game at launch, so I don't think it's a sixty
it's not
dollar
bad.
game, and I only paid $10 for it at Walmart sale. I got a whole line of crap of I don't know why that they did that, but so I figured I'd show that. But Disney Illusion Island DLC, it looks cool.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. And then following that, we got a Animal Crossing ripoff. I'm gonna call it a Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I
What?
can safely say I am not gonna. No interest in Hello Kitty. It's clearly not marketed towards me. I'm not the demographic they're trying to hit with this game. But
This
way it looked, it felt like
100% looks like animal. I was almost shocked that Nintendo was allowing that in their direct when it looks so much like Animal Crossing.
it looked like they just stole the aesthetic of Animal Crossing and then put it with Hello Kitty. That's exactly what I thought when I watched this.
Yeah, it looks exactly like it. That was my first thought. Yeah, I was kind of pretty surprised, man. Pretty surprised. Yeah, it's Hello Kitty. It's not up my alley. It looks, if it is like a Animal Crossing game though, there's definitely an audience for that. That's for cozy gamers, and there are
I
going
mean,
to
that's
be
what the
like
game feels like.
it's like one of those games I think, and uh it's going to sell. It's Hello Kitty, but I don't have any
I'm
interest.
sorry, as a 30-year-old man, I'm obviously not the demographic that game is marketed towards.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
Though, are you a fan of Looney Tunes? Because the next game that we got was Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports.
So, yes, 100% at first. I thought it was very cool. There's been a lot of
Yeah.
discourse online about this game. I was very excited for it until I saw that Game Mill is making it. Game Mill is
Not a fan of
basically
them.
oh, look up Game Mill. Look at I have not played a good Game Mill game ever. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I played that was good from them. If that is on the front of the case, that means the game is garbage. It's a low budget game. It's a very small studio. They make crap games all the time.
So you're telling me you're not a fan of Disney's Frozen Olaf Quest?
That's what I'm saying. I've actually played that game because of my daughter on the
Oh
3DS.
wow.
I played it.
You got what? Deer Hunter Reloaded?
When
Monster Jam Crush It?
What?
You didn't care for Nickelodeon's kart racers?
No, bro. They've got 3 of them. 3 of them.
Yeah, they do. What, Street Outlaws 1 and 2?
Oh my god.
G.I. Joe
And
Operation
I have
Blackout.
that. I have that game, and it's really not good.
Hey man, it's Nerfer Legends. They got Nerf Legends.
I just bought that too, and I didn't know Game Mill did that.
They got what, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl? Little League World Series 22? I don't know. Yeah, a lot of these games look like cheap games. I'm not gonna lie. These are not high quality money games.
Yeah. So
Got Goosebumps the game.
yeah, I actually played that too. Not good. I will see what happens when this game comes out and what people say, because the concept I like. You remember Mario's Sports Mix for the DS?
Yeah.
Okay, that was like a really cool concept, right? Taking some of the sports that like Mario hasn't done and mashing them together. And then they had like the Mario basketball, the 3-on-3. I like the concept. I like Looney Tunes. I like old cartoons. I grew up watching that. I like Space Jam a lot.
The first one, not the second one.
I haven't even watched the second one. I won't watch it.
I didn't like it.
I refuse to watch it.
The first one is super cheesy, but it's iconic
cheesy but iconic, and I enjoy it every time I watch it.
You can't go wrong with Bill Murray. Like, come on.
But I will say that the song is R. Kelly. It's R. Kelly, and it is a iconic song.
R. Kelly did the Space Jam theme song?
Yes, look it up.
Well,
yep.
the whole "Welcome to the Jam."
No, not the
That's what
one.
I think about.
I believe I can fly.
I don't associate with that movie at all. I'm gonna be fair.
That is the only song I know people like sing.
You bring that up,
I
and
believe I can
I remember
touch the
we were
sky.
kids. It was the parody. It's like is it like I believe I can fly? It's something about like running away from like the FBI or something like that. You remember what I'm talking about? You used to, like,
I
sing as
know.
kids.
I don't remember the run.
I don't remember
away
any of the
from
words. But I don't associate that. I associate like the actual like.
It's like they play it more than
the
once.
jam
It's like
music.
the main song. The other one's just like a.
But I just don't associate it.
Well, regardless, I mean, I liked Space Jam and all that, and then like he so Mr. Coffee said Looney Tunes game is a clearance pickup 100%. It is a $5 or $10 deal at Walmart when I find like these other games I got. And I would
Pretty
say
much.
what deal wise the best I got out of those is Star Ocean Second Story R and then Kirby Star Allies. Really good deals. I mean, like I already wanted that Star Ocean game, so. But yeah, it's a clearance pickup, and I want to see if there's any like anything I'm gonna want to actually go to and play on it, because I like the arcadey sports games. that are like themed around other stuff like Mario and all that. So I
Yeah.
think they're fun, but yeah.
And then apparently there was a free update for Among Us on the Switch that was available that same day.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, they said Among Us free update later today. I don't know what they added to the game though. To be fair,
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
I feel like you're joshing me right now. A game that it kind of like Fall Guys. It was hyped for a month and then it just nobody cared about
It's
it.
sad that I own 2 different versions of the game for PS5. I got them dirt cheap. I got the collector's edition up there. I think I paid $10 for it. And then I got the Steelbook slipcover edition for $5 on the PS5. I was like, yeah, I'll take that. It just looks cool. It's got like a holographic cover.
Yeah.
So
Then I guess you can now let your inner furry out in what's it, Farmagia?
yeah, this one I'm not too sure about.
I don't know. I saw a bunch of like anime. I think it's more like a hack. I don't know. Fur is like the wrong word. Sorry. It's like a hack and slash or slightly turn based for some things. Like I guess there's farming involved in it, but it came off as more like a hack and slash animal farming game. So you're like if you watch the trailer, one of the things is like it looks like a corn stalk, and then bam, it's like a wolf creature. I don't know, it's kind of weird concept.
Yeah,
And obviously you got to like level them up, take them out, go do your combat and stuff like that as you like fight bosses with like hordes of the animals that you've raised. So I guess hack and slash wasn't the right word.
it looks like the type of game I wouldn't want to play because it almost looks like an RTS too.
An RTS with like a splash of inspiration from Pikmin, if that makes any sense.
Pikmin and
where you've got like
Plants vs Zombies. I feel like
yeah, because you've got like armies of animals or creatures that essentially do the fighting for you. You got to like build them up, then you go attack a boss.
it says you
I mean, it looks
you
like
have to collect the monsters. You gotta
you
level
gotta, like,
them
farm
up.
them.
Yeah,
You
I
farm
mean,
them, train them, level them up.
so I mean, it could be cool. It could be one of those,
This is like a $30 or less game is what it feels like.
I'll tell you what, a lot of those games are the ones that I end up being interested in right now.
I know it's developed by Marvelous. If you know anything about that studio.
I do. I saw that, and it looks good. Like the anime aesthetic for it looks really cool. I think the monsters look pretty cool. Like the designs are pretty good.
I don't know how repetitive the farming, the combat is actually going to be, because it just looked like you're going out, farming them, training them, and then go fight a boss. I'm like, I don't know how. It feels like that. If that's the gameplay loop, it could be a little repetitive.
It almost looks like a little Power World inspired too, but I mean, Power World's not that old. It does have a little bit of that because of the monsters, but it looks like you can kind of like get together with other people to take down giant monsters. So it's almost got like Monster Hunter aspects to it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this looks like a game of I want to see somebody actually go play it before I would make a hard decision. That's the feeling I get. I mean, this game comes out November 1st, so it's only another few months. I assume we'll probably hear more about this game and whatever Nintendo's next direct actually is.
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. It's piqued my interest, but I don't.
It's a unique concept. We'll see if it actually pans out for more than a few hours of actual fun.
Right. Yeah, it looks like something that has like 7 different things mashed to it.
Yeah, but my only concern when I saw them, like, it looks like it could the repetitive gameplay loop could kind of get boring after a while, but
yeah, nobody wants
it's
that.
like it's like a minute and a half long trailer. So
give me just a second. I apologize, guys.
Yeah, I guess we'll run back through some comments. I guess Mr. Coffee. The Disney game looked nice, but when I think about spending hours into playing it, I have to pass. Yeah, fair enough. I just don't like Disney as a company, so I don't like giving them money if I can avoid it. And to be fair, even when I was a kid, I just didn't care for Disney games personally myself. Maybe it's the art style. I'm just old fart that likes the older design. Fair enough. Maybe they let you use like skins, so they look like the '80s versions of Mickey. I mean, it'd be interesting. Have like every iteration of Mickey as a skin, essentially. My daughter saw it and they wanted, so whoever came up with the idea knew exactly to buy the Hello Kitty. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it feels like it's the marketed demographic, the whole casual, like younger girl audience. At least to me, even growing up, just felt like the target audience for something like Hello Kitty. Looney Tune games is a clearance. Yeah, fair enough. Like a $10 less pickup game is what it looked like. Yeah, can't go wrong with a good cheesy game, as long as I'm not paying $60 for it. It's Power World. I mean, I guess you kind of take inspiration from that as well. I don't know if it. I think Power World looks like a. Oh, I thought Power World was a fun game. Not a game I'm gonna put hundreds of hours into, but a good game I could sit down and play here and there. Farming Pikmin, yeah. Or so that was made by the same guy that does the Fairy Tail anime. Yeah, I could see it. I'm assuming that's actually who did it. But I mean, I'm biased. You can't go wrong with an anime-esque art style. You're not gonna lose me if you go that route. Man, I don't know where Brandon went. I guess that's the bad thing with some of these podcasts. I'm not set up to run it by myself. I don't want to get too far ahead. Because the next thing that's coming up, I feel like Brandon will be very interested in as we get more, Donkey Kong-esque stuff coming down the pipeline. Well, I guess we can talk about some other stuff real quick. Some more smaller stuff. I guess I'll re-hit this when it comes up. I'll just wait for Brandon to come back. I don't want to get too far with the direct stuff itself, but apparently if you made the terrible bad decision to actually buy Redfall, it's that game, Redfall has begun issuing refunds for the Bite Back edition due to the DLC cancellation. I don't think you should get a refund for the whole game because it's absolute crap. But yeah, I think we all saw this coming. So Redfall started to roll out refunds for the $100 Bite Back edition, which was supposed to include the DLC that very obviously never got released because this game sold very poorly. So at least you're getting some of your money back. I think everybody should get a full refund. But I mean, kind of made the mistake of buying that game in the first place. Overall, did you like the showcase? Ouch. Yeah. I thought it was decent. I think we kind of mentioned it before. I think Brandon was leaning more towards the 10 out of 10. I think I gave it about an 8 out of 10. Mainly because there was no real... While there were some good games in there, it's just not a bunch of super big hitting games. Like, finally got the game that I wanted at the very end of it. But that's just one game. There's also... I felt like there was it wasn't littered with like remakes or remasters, but there was, it felt like there were quite a few in there, and a lot of more indie-esque style games, which might be, I think it was solid, but it's not like you had like both like a Mario and a Zelda game announced as well with, some other like first-party games. You got like, we got a few big first-party games. Obviously, you got the Mario Luigi game. It's not like the mainline Mario game, but it's a Mario game. We got a new 2D Zelda. Got the Metroid announcement at the very end and stuff like that. So I thought it was really solid, but really, at least to me, only one real big banger when it comes to mainline first party games. We got a good hit of first party games. It's not like mainline console seller esque, games essentially. It's kind of how I look at it. I'm trying to like take a more subjective view of everything as a whole, top to bottom. Because while the highs could be really high, it felt like the lows at times were relatively low, at least to me personally. Refund and bleach for your eye. Yeah, it'd be nice. Keep flowing. Yeah, no, Brandon was having to go take care of something real quick. Marvel vs. Capcom. No, yeah, I think I was trying to figure out what that was at. I mean, I guess to me, it wasn't a big game because I am not a fan of fighting games. But I think that's one of the ones I definitely overlooked it because they had the arcade classics fighting collection, which I'm sure Brandon absolutely will love. And if you're into the old school fighting games or fighting games in general, you should absolutely love it. it's definitely a game of personal preference that I probably would have blacked out or put to the back of my mind myself, just because fighting games are gun. I button smash. That's all I'm good for fighting games. So it's just not a genre I've ever really been into, or probably at this point just not going to get into. But I mean, yeah, it's a good stuff, especially for like some of those old ones. Marvel vs. Capcom. What's it? Marvel vs. Capcom 2. What's it? The Punisher, or like I'm gonna try to make sure I hit everything. The way they advertise. So it's the Marvel superheroes versus Street Fighter. Something with the X-Men. I'm sorry, the video, the way they did it. X-Men versus Street Fighter. Obviously, the Marvel Capcom Punisher. All right, now here's everything. Yeah, no. So Punisher, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, Marvel Superhero versus Street Fighter, and then X-Men versus Street Fighter. And then, well, X-Men Children of the Atoms, Marvel Superheroes, because they put everything at the end, and I'm just stupid. I didn't go there for everything. So it seemed like a lot of good classic games, good IPs. Yeah, it's just not my cup of tea. But I mean, for more power to those that like these games want to go back and play them. I mean, yeah, absolutely good for you. Also, fun fact, is the first time we get an actual arcade port of Marvel vs. Capcom. Previously, all the older versions were all based on the Dreamcast version. Isn't that worse when you get a re-release or a port of another port, essentially? Feels like a little counterintuitive. So I guess it's good it's coming straight from the arcade version, not from another, essentially a port or a remake or remaster, essentially. I never got that. It just feels like you're just cheap and lazy, because they tend not to be as good if they're not a port of the original. Obviously, ports can be really good or really bad, depending on how much effort you put into them. But that's definitely really good to know. I think the only game we haven't gotten to yet from Capcom is Alien vs. Predator. I mean, that's definitely a game I haven't played, but that's that whole genre of stuff I definitely haven't played. I guess it's a 2010 game. I was trying to pull it up. I don't know if that's the exact game you were thinking of. 2010? I mean, around the era I would have been getting close to playing games like those, but not a franchise I'm like super hard on. I like the original, as far as like the franchise for the movies. I only really like the first Alien and the first Predator movie. I guess the first Alien vs. Predator was okay. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but subsequent sequels I didn't really care for. I was also a kid when either I wasn't alive or I was really young when these were coming out and stuff like that. So I didn't grow up playing them. It's great beating them up. You can't go wrong. Hey, welcome back, Johnny. Just had dinner. Glad you had some dinner. Chilling for a second. Brandon had to go take care of something for an unknown amount of time, and I don't want to get too hard ahead on certain things without him here. So I'm trying to scooch around that fact that I want to like start covering a bunch of stuff on this direct while he's not here. Because there are a few decent things that we still want to cover. I guess I can sidestep a few things. While Brandon's not here, I guess I'll just make it easier. Roll into my whole little anime quarter section. You ever read the Dark Horse comments? I don't know if Johnny has. I feel like Brandon might have. I know for a fact I haven't. I'm into reading like manga and stuff like that. When it comes to comics or visual novels or stuff like that, more often than not, it's not a thing I personally have gotten into. It's okay, just playing Paper Mario. Watch you guys. Yeah, fair enough. Definitely appreciate it. Was quite surprised that they started with Mario Luigi game. No, I think it's definitely a good introduction. And then, well, I guess you're back, so we'll go back to the direct.
Yeah.
I was about to roll into my anime section, but I didn't know how long you were going to be gone.
No, you're good.
Interactive with the chat.
You did fine. I was listening while doing that, so you're just fine.
Just trying to fill time on like there's a bunch of stuff we could cover.
No, you're good.
I didn't want to do a lot of this stuff without.
There's 30 games announced at the limited run games showcase. By the way, 30 games.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
more stuff to talk about.
Yep. So,
never-ending line of news to talk about. But I guess the next one was a game, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD.
This is good.
I really saw it. I was trying to pull. So they
I
said there's what 80 levels available. Were they bringing? I can't remember. If they said they
They're
were bringing some of
bringing
the
the
older.
3DS
Yeah, that was
ones
the one. They
over.
were
Yeah.
bringing some of the older ones, which is always good
So they're
to
combining
see.
the Wii all the Wii levels and the 3DS levels that were exclusive to that version. So they're
Because I mean,
doing
why
what
not bring them all
it's
together?
basically like what they did with Hyrule Warriors. They did Hyrule Warriors, that Legends on 3DS that had more content, and then they did the one on Switch that had all of that content put together, and more. So
Yeah, and
you
then that
remind me, I
game.
need some chapstick.
I don't. I live in a place that's really dry,
Oh,
low
F.
humidity constantly, so it's kind of like summer or especially in the winter, it's like
No, I
necessary.
know. I've got like 6 of them over there.
I think it rained like on and off like half the day, and it's still like well below 50% humidity. It's like 30% humidity outside, maybe
Uh,
40. Still pretty
uh,
dry.
that is nothing compared to Ohio. That's been the last couple of days.
Pretty more humid. It's not too bad. It's cloudy.
Dude,
it's in the
did I
70s,
tell
so
you
it's
about my
comfortable outside.
AC?
Yeah, you did, or it went out.
The
Because
humidity,
you
the
the
humidity was 78 in my house.
was that Monday or Tuesday that you said that?
It was Monday, Sunday and Monday.
Because as you say that Monday night, it got down to like 38 degrees here. We had a cold front come through.
Yeah, you told me that, and I'm like, oh, it must be
And then
nice.
it barely got into like the mid 60s on Tuesday, but it was a cool 60, not a hot 60. It was like it's mid June, and I had to turn my heat back on for 2 days because it got into the
Dang.
30s and 40s overnight. Now it's back up 70s, 80s. It's gonna push 90s next week, but the lows still dip down to the into the 60s and 50s, so it still gets cool overnight, which is nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Pros and
Definitely.
cons of living in a quasi desert, essentially.
So have you played any of the later country games?
I played I believe it's was it the
Trop.
original one for the SNES?
There's 3 for the SNES, and then
I
we
think I
yeah,
think it's just Donkey Kong Country, like the OG one I remember
yeah,
playing. And then
very good
I've
game.
dabbled in Tropical Freeze. Anything in between I've not played. Like just Donkey Kong was never like never had them growing up, and it was never a franchise I just ever really got super into. But
See
they were
that
always like solid games that I remember.
that bums me out because it's like I think he's a good character, but he's kind of always been pretty sidelined. And I mean, he's the reason
Yeah.
we have Mario, and really was a star at that point in
Then
time.
all his games that pretty much stuck on the side scrolling. You never really had him in 3D.
You did on the
I thought that was
64.
interesting.
Yeah, Donkey Kong 64 is a 3D collectathon.
I guess that's
That's
one,
the
but it's
only
not one
one.
that really stands out as like peak Donkey Kong.
No, it's definitely not peak Donkey Kong, but it is just another 3D collectathon. You're
Yeah.
collecting bananas the whole time, jumping and platforming. A lot of
That's
people
a whole lot.
don't like the
That's a
game,
whole
but
lot.
there's like a whole cult following for the game too.
Yeah.
So
But as far as like that's the whole 64 era was a bunch of collectathons. Like that was just the game of the era essentially.
it really was, yeah. Now it's Metroidvania and live service.
Pretty much. But for this Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which is good that we're getting it, sucks that we're getting a lot of these games at the end of the Switch life cycle, which means we're getting a lot of like remakes and stuff coming out. But this game comes out January 16th of next year, 2025. So it's like right after the holiday season.
If this were a Wii U game, I'd probably feel a little different. But because this is stuck on the Wii, and I guess the 3DS as well. I think it's good. A
No,
lot
I
of
think it's
people
solid.
probably missed it, and it's
It's just
very very good.
It's a lot of the other stuff is like it feels like when this is one of the bigger medium-sized games of the Switch, it's just like, yeah, we're coming to the end of the life cycle of the Switch because we're just not getting a whole like what you would expect, like a lot more big banger games out the gate that you feel like you would.
Yeah.
Over the year.
No, to be honest with you though, from this direct, that's all I expected. I did not expect the stuff that we were getting.
Actually, I heard some people, I can't remember who it was, but I remember seeing some stuff online. People were afraid that it was gonna be too like fully like remakes and remasters. It was gonna be like the bulk of the showcase.
Yeah, that's
because nobody
where I
was
at.
expecting any first party Nintendo game because they're like, well, we're expecting the Switch successor to come out next year. So obviously, if they have anything coming out, they're just gonna hold it at the very least, dual release it on both consoles.
I want that's something we're gonna have to get into with one of these. Because there's a big debate and like literal analysis being done with the graphics compared to Metroid Prime Remastered. We'll get into it. I want that to be its own segment, but
Yeah.
um, yeah.
But
So
I mean, yeah, if you want to get into it, another series that I was surprised. Maybe if I was kind of blind going into this, I don't go into the whole guessing or what people were predicting or a lot of the leak stuff, but we got some Dragon Quest remakes or what they call some people criticized. I think I heard Arlo for sure. What one of the YouTubers I saw criticizing it was the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, and some people
what?
criticizing like that's too long of a name. But outside of the name itself, we're getting Dragon Quest 3 in HD 2D remake. Some of these older Dragon Quest games,
So
it's nice to see them getting some love.
here's something amazing about the game. If you go and look, have you seen the box art cover? Because I pre-ordered it on Amazon. Did you see the box art cover for 3? I need you to look it up.
I saw what they did on the direct itself.
I don't know. I don't remember if they showed the box art cover, but as you know, Toriyama has passed away. So
Yeah.
this is the first Dragon Quest game that he's not, and so this art is to replicate his style. And there's a comparison. Spawnwave actually tweeted out the comparison of this box art cover, the art style, to the original of 3. Very similar. So people were talking about that. That was definitely a thing.
Yeah, it's the same art they used in the direct. It looks really good for box art.
Yeah, I think I think that's some of the best box art I've seen in years. That's really good. Like that is a masterpiece of a box art for sure.
Oh yeah. And while I'm good, we're getting the what's it the
We're getting
Erdtree
1 and 2.
trilogy.
We're getting 1 and 2. Yeah, so 1 through 3 is
What
his
I
trilogy.
what I didn't get is
What
why
else?
we're getting 3 first, and then the 1 and 2 are getting boxed together later. Like that's like the one thing that I was kind of confused about with this stuff.
I think it is simply because 3 is more generally loved, especially in
doesn't
Japan
but what
versus
since it's technically like a trilogy, isn't like continuous
it's a
story from 1 to
prequel.
3?
It's a prequel to
Oh,
1 and
okay,
2.
so it's not like it concludes.
Yeah,
It's continuing on.
it's
Okay.
it's a prequel.
'Cause
So
I saw that and I was like super confused. Like this doesn't make. Why are we getting the third game before the first two? Wouldn't that mess up the story for people that have never played it before? Type thing.
yeah, so I had been looking for this for a long time and I did get it, I think September last year. I finally found it at a game store. It's Dragon Quest 1 through 3 on the Switch. Could not find this anywhere. I had looked and looked and looked and I found it for $40. Here's the problem with this. These are the mobile ports brought over to the Switch.
It's a port of a port. That's like
It's a
I was
port
already
of a
talking with
port.
them. Yeah, when you
Yeah.
were gone, I was like, I don't get why you port another port. It just means it's a
They took
port. It's
they
a lesser
took the
quality.
the mobile game. Well, technically these mobile games are like remastered, sort of, but they're really not. It's like
But it's not what you want. You just want the port of the original, not another remaster.
it's
remake
not even
port,
really
essentially.
like it's like barely a remaster. Like they change and make some. It's kind of like the Wind Waker HD and like where they make the sailing faster, like things like that. Things are like a little bit easier to get through, but
like a quality of life update.
but you can
that's about it.
tell that it's you can tell that they're mobile games. Like you can tell when you're playing, oh, this was a mobile game. I was so angry when I found out because there's stuff left out as well. So like if you want to play the
Yeah.
full original experience,
You can't. So it's almost like what's the point type thing.
but I will say what I can say about this is that all 3 of these are actually on the cart. Most collections like this leave like several of them as a download or whatever. So that's kind of cool. It's still cool. I mean, I like, I just even the covers. I just like this box art covers.
Oh, definitely.
That's an interesting one for 3 because that's kind of not similar. If you like compare the 2 there, Mark.
Yeah.
That I mean 3, you can see it. It almost looks like it's a Super Saiyan.
Yeah, it looks just like a a
Straight
slightly
up.
different Goku, like
It,
a
it,
young
it really
Goku.
does. Yeah. Yeah, it really does. But yeah, I am such a big fan of this series, and Dragon Quest 12 is the game that brought in a ton of new people. It is massive in Japan, but it's always been sidelined to Final Fantasy here. But that kind of changed when 12 came out because it's a masterpiece of a game. 10 out of 10. Um, it's really cool. That game is so interesting. It gives you the ability to play it in 3D or play it like you would be playing it on the NES. You can go back and forth too. Like
That's pretty neat.
it is very neat, very very neat. Like it looks exactly like a Famicom or NES game when you switch over to that mode. Incredibly cool. And 12 is just like, I mean, like, yeah, it's the 12th mainline game, but it's still a good entry point. 13, man, they're hyping stuff up on this. I'm super excited to see what they do because 12 was so good, man, so good.
Yeah,
Um,
but
what are
for
you a fan of the Dragon Quest games?
I didn't get into it till Dragon Quest. Was it 10? Was like the first one. But no, it's
Uh,
World Tree. If that's I think it
that
might
I
be
had
10. Was
that.
like the first
Whoa,
Dragon
whoa,
Quest
the
game that I
World
played.
Tree or something like that.
Yeah, like that was my first foray. 'Cause it was just I don't
That's
know. It just
Dragon
feels like it was
Quest
never.
Heroes. So it's like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah, that might be
spinoff.
it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's the
which was
other.
decent. But I
It's
mean, this might be one that I want to get back into because it's got that old school art style. That old school JRPG gameplay look.
Mr. Coffee says, okay, so he's got a bunch of stuff here. Do you want to read that off? You might have it pulled up and can read it easier.
I don't know which one you were trying to read, but
There's Dragon. I saw a bunch of stuff about the Dragon Quest there. Looks like Super Famicom version was the same
oh,
way.
okay. I think it was the last two. Like best version is the Super Famicom, DQ 1 and 2, or Dragon Quest 1 and 2. I mean, be like the original, but
Yeah,
so to answer your question, Dragon Quest 1 is pretty short compared to the others. So
it
fun
is.
with 2 is smart,
Yeah,
and obviously they're like super hyping up the third one as like the main one.
I could be wrong.
It
I
just
have
it's
Mr. Coffee answer, but I think you can beat the first one in like 4 or 5 hours. Like it's very
oh, it's
short.
crazy short. I mean, but to be fair, like the era it would have came out in, that doesn't surprise me with something like brand new like that.
Yeah, it was kind of like a Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Like that was the JRP. I don't know if you know the whole story about that. That's the
Was it like
first
supposed to be like a
JRPG they brought over to America to test whether the American audience would like it.
yeah, so you just make it a little bit shorter. You don't want to put too much
They
money into
made
it.
it
It's just
easier and
yeah.
shorter. So
But I mean, so we got what 3 comes out this November. I think it's the 14th, and then 1 and 2 coming together. They say 2025. I can't imagine it being that late into 2025. It's gonna come out, but
oh, no.
hopefully when we see more about those, they look just as good as Dragon Quest 3.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Because that game looks amazing. That's definitely a game I'm gonna pick up.
I'm glad
Whether
that
it's
you're
gonna
gonna
sit
pick
on
it
my
up.
shelf for a few months after I pick it up, I don't know. We'll see when the time comes. But
I
there's
think
definitely games I want to pick up.
I think that's one I'm gonna have to throw right in. And another one that I would to catch up on the Final Fantasy series, those pixel remasters. Though I mean those look beautiful
Oh
too.
yeah,
And I mean it's very very expensive for the Switch. I actually saw just a regular copy, not that collector's edition is crazy. Like you have no idea that it's like I think like $800 and it just came out, at the end of last year. But for a like physical regular copy, I saw one a couple days ago at Game Store for $100. So it's up to you whether you want to buy that physical or digital, but I do desperately want to play those pixel remasters because I love those early games. I am the guy that really likes the era where it was more fantasy and mystical. I really like that sort of element, almost like kind of medieval-ish. You know what I mean? It was just like very
yeah,
fantasy. It wasn't no like sci-fi-ish to it. I don't know. I like those type of games. I've always loved those type of RPGs, and yeah. So I,
yeah. It's
I,
not bad.
I'm excited to see what happens here.
Yeah. They got this next one we can definitely fly by, but we got a really cheap, money grabbing Funko Fusion game based off the Funko Pop, which I thought looked terrible, and I'm not a fan of Funkos to begin with, so I was just critical of it by default. But I'm sorry, I thought this looked so stupid.
The funny
But I
thing,
also I don't like Funkos, but I think the game just looked cheap.
I don't like Funkos either, and I do know there is an audience for them, but I thought it mostly died off. However, today I saw a guy, he had 4 of them in his arms buying them at GameStop. So people are
No, I
buying
mean,
them.
yeah, GameStop has like a whole like
Oh my god, a
a
whole
decent
section.
section of shelf.
A whole
But
I
even
looked.
with even without it, that game because made by what 10 games, it just
It's
looks
like
cheap.
it looks like a Fortnite style
But
game with all these properties, almost like
it
Lego
doesn't.
Dimensions. Do you remember that
Yeah,
game, Lego Dimensions?
but with none of the polish, it looks so cheap.
It does, but I'll tell you what, I've been seeing some pretty good discourse on the game. People saying that
I,
they're actually looking forward to it. I don't like Funkos either, but if this is I don't like
I'm sorry,
live service, I may try. I don't know. We'll see. It's got
I'm not gonna
properties
look
in it
twice.
I like, but I legitimately am not very interested in this game.
Yeah,
So
that's a game that I'm just gonna ignore, and I don't have anything more to say about it.
yeah,
Uh,
Mr. Coffee said it looks like they're trying to be the next Lego. Yeah, it reminds me of Lego Dimensions because that had all these properties brought into the game. You bought the set, and then you could bring the Scooby Doo into the game, and Sonic, and just all this crazy stuff.
I think Lego's just a better property to adapt than
Well, Lego
Funko Pops,
Dimensions
but
massively flopped. Like that game
well,
flopped
Lego
bad.
Dimension, but Lego's had really good games as well as Lego. The brand itself is extremely strong and high quality, but
You're just a Lego head.
not really because they're too expensive. But
Same.
yeah, moving on, we got Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, so another uh, slightly upscale game. I've never played any of the Luigi Mansion games. I'm just gonna be upfront about that.
This is a
I
good
know the
one to
original
play.
Luigi's Mansion came on the GameCube, and I just never had that many games for the GameCube, and it's just I never really had a chance to play this game. So I
I
mean, I might look into this one, but
okay, so I'm just gonna say it. I haven't played 3, so I really kind of can't say it, but I like it better than 1. And it had a multiplayer mode called the Scare Scraper, I want to say, that was really fun, where you're trying to make it to the top of a building, basically, with people online,
yeah,
getting the ghosts and seeing how far you could go. It's just a really fun multiplayer, unique game. Um, so I mean, I'm picking this up for sure. I played. It was called Dark Moon. I kind of hate that they are calling it Luigi's Mansion 2, but I learned that it was called Luigi's Mansion 2 everywhere else but the U.S. It was called Dark Moon here. I was like very confused. Why are you switching the name? Like that's a really good name, Dark Moon. Like that sounds cool. But yeah, that's why. I guess it was just Luigi's Mansion 2 everywhere else. So.
and it's Nintendo of America just doing something different because why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we got Braden joining the chat as well.
Oh, hey, Braden, what's up? How's it going?
Yeah. So we got the next game, the new Denpa Man. I didn't know what to think about this because it's like what
I
guys in weird looking costumes type thing.
yeah, I played
That
I I played I played on the 3DS. It's very Japanese. I'll put it that way.
I mean I picked that up, but it's like what? So you do like mini games, some combat to build your town and cities, kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, it's almost like Pikmin-ish and also like kind of like a Harvest Moonish. You're not like
Yeah,
farming,
kind of.
but you're like building. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, with
it's
that.
like its own thing. I really don't know how to explain it. If you can watch a trailer of like the other ones, but it's fun. It's very fun. It's one of those ones that have never I I didn't think did well, but I mean they're bringing this one and maybe it did better than I thought. But
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like it has that Japanese sense of humor, which is
it does. It looks like a
kind of weird and dry at times.
yeah, they have that like Japanese, like it's almost like it's trying to be like slapsticky, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff of Japanese guys in costumes like that. So
yeah,
that's why they made that game. But
yeah. The Denpa Men, it makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I
I
guess we'll see.
definitely want to play it. Very very niche game, I will say that.
I definitely could believe that. It wouldn't surprise me that's like digital only because they just don't expect it to sell well.
That's how it was on the 3DS, digital only.
Yeah. So we got another remaster. We got Metal Slug Attack Reloaded.
Oh,
Do
this
you
isn't
care for the more
this isn't a
arcadey style?
remaster. This is a new
It's a
game.
remake.
No, it's its own game. Did you see the
Okay, well then
gameplay?
the Reloaded kind of threw me off because it sounds like something they would use to you know put a spin on like the remaster type
No, I
thing.
totally get it, but if you watch the trailer, you'll get what I'm saying. This is like its own type of game. This isn't even like a regular Metal Slug game. So like I don't. This was I can't say this for sure, but I think it was a mobile game being brought over. I think, but it's its own thing. It's not like a regular Metal Slug game. You'll see because you have like an army of people there like
No, yeah, I
attacking.
kind of saw that.
Yeah, it's like
I might have to check that out. That game came out the same day as this direct.
yeah, it's
back
out
on
now.
the 18th. So
Yep, I was looking at it on the eShop. I
one of those
definitely want
like
to grab it.
stealth drops.
I guarantee that this is going to be a limited run. I'll print a physical of this. But yeah, I mean
It's possible.
it's it's cool to see the Metal Slug name here, but it's just like its own thing. It's so different. I mean, yeah, I just don't even know how to explain it really. But that's cool. I
Hop
mean,
in and play it.
yeah, I mean, we'll see, right?
Yeah. So we also got another game, Darkest Dungeon 2. I don't know if you know anything about the first one. I definitely don't.
Darkest Dungeon, yeah, I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, it looks more like what's a turn-based, kind of has that indie feel to it. But I didn't have a whole lot to say between the turn-based. I mean, Darkest Dungeon's got that that eerie, dark feel to it, but I didn't really have a lot to say about it.
It's got the aesthetic I like, but it just doesn't look like anything I would play. I love the aesthetic. Like I like
Yeah.
the character designs and all the like evil looking stuff, but yeah, just I probably won't play this one.
Yeah, but I mean, after that, we got some NSO news. So,
Yeah.
well, at least getting some more Zelda games coming to NSO. So we got Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Four Swords.
Yes. Thank God
So
that
we're
they
getting
put this on there. This is the first. This is Link to the Past and the first Four Swords game. So great decision to put that one on there.
yeah, it's good. We're getting some some GBA games, getting some love, especially in the whole Zelda
Yeah.
esque feel, because it feels like that's some of the IPs that they just not necessarily want to put out there, because like, oh, we want to remake this game, so we're just gonna hold off and giving you anything at all.
Yeah.
But especially like some of those old Sword, like those old GBA multiplayer games, where like if you didn't have a link cord, you didn't really get to experience the full game essentially.
Yeah, so this is one of those games. This is it. This is like that essentially. You
Yeah.
can play with other people. But I mean, like it is a Link to the Past. A lot of people will say it's the best way to play it. Some people will say just play it on the Super Nintendo. But the Four Swords is really cool because they took that Four Swords from that and then made full games. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I love Four Swords Adventure on GameCube. I think that's a very underrated Zelda game. So I'm pretty
Yeah, some
stoked.
of those multiplayer ones. And then the next one that we got from GBA was Metroid Zero Mission, which essentially is essentially it's like a remake slash remaster of the original Metroid. Essentially the Zero Mission, so it's the original game plus extra little mission with Samus without her suit on. And then I believe in this game, once you beat the game, you unlocked essentially the original Metroid game as well. So it's kind of like a 2-in-1, which I thought was really interesting for the GBA. As far as Zero Mission, I actually do have Zero Mission still physically for my GBA.
So cool.
Cartridge only, like all these old cardboard games, but it's the first way I experienced this game that I can say.
Yeah, I love the game.
I think it's the better way to play the first Metroid game personally. I think it just looks and plays better. Plus, it's got added content, and then once you beat the game, you can go back and play the old original version of it. So, man, it's unfortunate it's not there. you can't just choose which version you want to play. But I think it's the definitive way to play because I played the original version, not on the NES, but on the NES Mini.
Oh, that's the
And
first
it's
time you
just
played it?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, the first time I played it was Zero Mission, but when I actually played the original version, because I never had a NES growing up,
Yeah.
it was on the NES Mini. And even on Zero Mission, it's not the most intuitive game with games of those eras. The whole just kind
Yeah.
of figure out type stuff. But I think it's still a solid game.
No,
I'm
I
glad
think it's great.
Definitely there.
I think it redid the first game very well. I love it. It's in my top 5 Metroid games. So
I would
I
say
think it's
just
great.
from a gameplay and a story aspect, because let's be fair, the original game, the story was non-existent if you didn't get the original, if you didn't read the manga that was also in the original instruction manual, which I think was in Japan only, but I can't remember.
I feel like that was in the NES
There was
box,
also
in the manual.
maybe have been. There's also a manga made that kind of expanded the story of the original game way back when. Obviously, we've got Dread now, so it expand. I think Dread expands. Oh man, it's been forever since I played that game. I believe it expands the original story a lot more, or it retells it properly.
Wait, what does?
I thought Dread did, because the story of Dread goes back to pre-Metroid 1.
Yeah,
Because it goes back to the whole destruction of the Chozo, essentially, which is essentially the whole plot of the first game.
well, since
'Cause it's what the space pirates attack that Chozo planet that Samus grew up on, and I think a lot of this comes from the manga. Essentially, I might be getting mixed up some of my source material, but the story of that goes back to pre-Metroid 1 as far as the actual official timeline goes.
Look at this art. Tell me that is not freaking
now that looks
amazing.
dope.
Dude,
How
it's
that looks.
so cool. So I think Dread is a perfect Metroid platforming game. Like the
2D Metroid, I guess.
Yeah,
if you're gonna go that route.
They perfected that 2D formula with Metroid, because Metroid platforming feels different than, like, say, playing Mario. Like, it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, the spin and there's almost always enemies in one of the rooms, and
It's a little bit more tight, if I feel like that makes sense. That's the right way to define it, because
I feel
it's
like
not,
it's the tightest 2D
it's not a
Metroid
pure
we've-
platform. It's a platform as well as your enemies. You've got platforms. You have to use certain weapons to freeze to hop on. There's wall jumping, or if you're skilled enough, you can. A game that was designed to be sequence broke in some ways. Obviously, the original was not, or some of the games weren't hard. Like, you have to go this way, but it's a series that has allowed you to with skill, essentially sequence break a lot of stuff. Even the 3D games, with a little bit of skill, very easy to get stuff and upgrades out of order.
Yeah, no, I agree. Did we bring up everything on it? No, we haven't. There's some interesting stuff on NSO.
We're like a little way halfway through
this.
Yeah. We also got 2. They say mature. We got a Nintendo 64 online mature 17. That's explicitly for these 2 games. So the first one is Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
Yep.
Which I do remember not having, but I remember playing it because I think I went to a friend's house when I was.
I think
really
you played it at my
young
house because. Oh, okay. Yeah, I had 1, 2, and 3 for Rage Wars, and 1 and 2 on 64. So the interesting thing with this is that it has its own app for the mature rating,
which I think is pretty ingenious on Nintendo's part. I think it's more for parental control type stuff. Like, hey, these are technically M-rated games, but you need a way to.
But it's the 64.
Not allow any kid to just hop on and play it.
I don't. To me, where we are in today, these are not like them games.
This is Nintendo. Nintendo has a reputation that they like to uphold. Maybe more now than they did in the past.
Are you kidding me? Look at the eShop. I pulled up the eShop earlier, and the hentai thing came up right away. Right, the first thing. I'm gonna do it right now.
I didn't say they were perfect, but when it comes to Nintendo specific, especially with Nintendo Online, they feels like they want to have more control, where they care less. I don't know. I also don't know how. Because I don't use it. I don't know how parental controls work with the eShop. So maybe there's a way that you can by default filter that stuff out on the eShop when you have kids and stuff like that, where they
Oh,
quite
yeah,
literally
that's a
can't
good
see certain
point.
things.
I don't know. Right, okay,
Because
look, yeah,
this feels more
first
like
page,
a parental control
new,
thing.
new releases. Look at this. It's not showing the.
I guess my only question is, does that get filtered out with parental controls?
Yeah, no, I'm curious
That's
too.
my only thing. Because if
Sport and
that
fun
can,
swimming.
yeah, because if that can be filtered out, then it makes more sense. It's just they don't monitor. They just allow you to not see certain things.
What are these? There's like 6 of them. They're called Garden of, like, they're all like
Looks like shovelware.
yeah, but there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, shovelware is what that is.
It's
But as
crazy.
well as with Turok, we also
This is the
you
one
can
I
go-
wanted to show real quick. I apologize. I have to. So for our audio listeners, there's a game coming out. Actually, you can purchase it now. It's called Toilet Hero. Hold on. Go back to that cover. Here's the cover for it. It's Deadpool sitting on a toilet. This is a game on the eShop right now that you can play.
for $4.
Look at this. Look at this gameplay.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. A game that's not worth the $4.
Absolutely insane. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, this is the one that was popped up earlier. Wait, I gotta get off of it to show the cover. They're all over the eShop, man. All over.
No, fair enough.
Hentai Girls Cat Cutie.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to filter that stuff out.
Oh my god, I want to filter that stuff out. I feel like not playing the Switch every time I see that stuff.
Yeah. But as well as with Turok, we also got, another rare game, Perfect Dark, coming to Nintendo Switch Online, which it's really good to see
Microsoft and
Microsoft,
Nintendo.
yeah, essentially allowing some of these old rare games to come back to Nintendo, essentially, because, this was a 64 game. This is like peak first-person shooter on the 64.
No, it is, fantastic, I'll put it that way. Turok, I think Turok games are great too, so if you haven't played them, I think they still hold up and a lot of fun. I really hope, I would love if they did, because they did make later ones like on the 360, and some of that, but I would love them to do it kind of in the style of how they redid Doom, because Doom is just crazy now. Absolutely insanely fun.
Aren't they doing
so
a new
fun.
Perfect Dark game?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see how well that
We
new game
watched
plays.
we looked at the
Yeah.
so
That's what I was trying to think. Like that came up. I was sitting there like, didn't they just announce a new Perfect Dark game as well? When I was actually watching the direct live. Well, not live. I watched it like later that day, but
yeah. But yeah,
I saw you messaged me some stuff, and I had the feeling like, all right, I feel like I know what game got announced. Let me go and watch it. I ignored those.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I thought you were watching, so I sent.
No, I was getting ready for work because that aired 8 a.m. live my time, so I gotta be at work at 9. So it was yeah. So I was getting ready for work. I had to be at work at 9. So I watched it when I got to work because I didn't have a lot going on, but it was airing during a weird time while I was like eating.
Well, yeah, because for the East Coast it was 7 a.m.
No, Pacific.
Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But 7. Don't know what time.
It was decent, but I was like, I had other stuff I had to get done, and it was getting ready for the day, so it just wasn't like I didn't have the time to sit down without like missing big chunks and have to go back and rewatch it.
No, I totally get it. Yeah. So the NSO stuff, very cool. Glad we got some 64. I really, really, really hope though that they bring Mega Man 64 over, because that's Mega Man Legends. They changed the name for the.
I'd like them to bring all the 64 games personally, but I doubt that's gonna happen.
I seriously, that Mega Man 64, I would absolutely love. I actually think it's better than the PS1. It's really called Mega Man Legends, right? I think it's actually a better version of the game. That's just my opinion. But I would love to see that brought over.
It just has weird box art.
What do you mean? That's classic box art. Mega Man 64?
The one here in the US? I think it looks weird.
No. To me, like, I was attracted to that anime style Mega Man.
I mean,
Um,
it has that cheap 3D
but
anime feel to it.
that's what all those games looked and felt like, though. But
Not
they
fair
weren't.
enough.
They really weren't. Like, if you play it now, it's one of those ones where like the controls aren't great, and you have to remember when I'm saying I prefer the 64 version. You also have to take into account the controller when you're playing. So what I actually used, and I think it was called the Sidewinder for the 64, but it was a different style controller, and we ended up getting one of those, and that's what I used pretty much the entire time after. I still use like the regular one occasionally, but yeah. So on the 64, the cameras were kind of an issue, but they were for the PS1 Mega Man Legends version too, because I believe this came out before the DualShock 1. I believe so. No sticks at all, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to do. The Mega Man Legends 3 was supposed to happen and got canned. It was being worked on for years and years, and I think this is one of the most it's one of those games that people have put together petitions and projects for to make happen, kind of like Operation Rainfall.
Yeah.
Like, people seriously want this game, and I do too. I'm a massive Mega Man fan. There's even like images out there of Mega Man Legends 3, like promo images, but they canceled it. So
Yeah, I mean, as far as like games I would specifically want to see, but I just don't know if they're gonna get the licensing from Hudson Soft, is the like Bomberman Heroes, Bomberman 64, and then Bomberman 64: The Second Attack.
Second
Really love
Attack
to see
for
those
sure. Oh my
games.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly, that game didn't get good reviews.
No, and it also is very, very, very expensive.
I know it because I
It's
think
because it
it's
didn't
one of the.
sell. It didn't sell. It didn't
I,
sell, and they
I think
didn't print a lot of
I
them.
I played that game as a rental when we were younger. I thought it's
I played it as a
arguably
rental
one of
too.
the best Bomberman games out there. I don't know why it didn't sell.
It's
I
it's
love
really
that
good.
game.
It's really good. I like Hero too. And then I do like the first 64, but I think Second Attack is the best one on the
I think it's
64.
peak. I think it's peak Bomberman. Period.
You think it's
Personally,
better than Jetters?
100%.
Oh wow! I thought that was like your favorite game.
This is arguably one of my favorite games of all
Oh,
time,
okay.
especially on the 64.
I
I love Jetters, but
Look-
I'd be lying if I said there's not nostalgia attached to this game, but I still think it holds up.
Well, I played Bomberman Hero about probably 4 or 5 months ago, when I was messing around with the EverDrive, tried it out, and yeah, I thought, went back to it and thought it was great. Did not play 64 the Second Attack, but I should revisit those soon. Because I
Yeah.
love those games. So
I need to go find. That's probably one of the few games I might just have to bite the bullet and
I'm
spend the
telling you,
money
man,
for a physical cartridge.
just get the
But I mean,
EverDrives. It plays exactly the same way the cart does. Like, it's
But
to me,
is
it's
one thing about owning certain
this.
games,
Do you know how much the Second Attack is? Go on eBay and look right now, and then you're going to
and
change
it
your
kills me
mind.
because I could have bought the game at once around $115.
Yeah, I
a
mean,
few years ago.
I could have. That's the same thing. I could have bought
I'm
What's
kicking
like-
myself that I didn't.
oh, what's the real? Oh my god, I love the RPG, and I can't
Like
even
the same
think
time
the
I
name
bought
of it.
the
Oh, Earthbound. I could have
Yeah.
bought Earthbound. I saw them in a gigantic clearance, like I don't know what you want to call it, but they were like piled up at Toys R Us. Like
Yeah.
they were clearanced out for like $10. And now that's like a very, if you have the whole thing and the scratch and sniff what was it? Scratch and sniff sticker? I don't remember. But it came with a guide for the game. Like, the game came in a big box and came with the guide. You couldn't buy it like by itself. And that was what was cool. So you got this big box that just looks really, really freaking cool. And I saw them stacked up for $10, discounting them, and they couldn't get rid of them. It's just insane. Those games that didn't sell are the ones that are worth money now. So, and there was a significant amount of Earthbounds there, because I saw it all the time. I saw a gigantic stack of it. So they were there, but just did not sell, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. I it's just a game I love.
I want to tell you a story real quick. I'm not going to take long with this. So, do you remember Pepe's Playhouse
No, I don't.
at Kroger? Okay.
I don't.
So,
I don't remember going.
okay. So they had. Well, I was pretty. You might not even been there yet. They used to have a video rental store. I don't know if you know that. My mom managed it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was really cool. If you go to that Kroger now, you can still see video, kind of like they took the stuff off, but it's kind of stuck. What?
You can still see like the
Yeah,
outline and
I
stuff out
took a
there.
picture of it the other day. I'll see. I was going to use that as a post. But yeah, I mean that was really cool. But I have this distinct memory that I stand behind, but I don't understand what it was that I played, and I thought I played this, and it was being worked on. I thought I played Earthbound 64 there. I distinctly remember Ness running around in his room with a bat. Like I remember running around. I just I remember this. I legitimately remember this, and I stand behind remembering it. But the game was being worked on and never came out. I'm telling you, I don't know, but
You have
I
like your own personal version of like the Mandela effect, essentially.
I it could be, but I specifically remember this. Like it is a memory ingrained in my head. But anyway, Pepe's Playhouse. It was essentially a place for them to let kids go to while you grocery shop. So they had game systems hooked up in there. So they had the PS1, the 64, and then before that they had the Super Nintendo and NES. And they'd like rotate game systems out of there because they used to sell games too. I don't know if you know that, but I used to get games there. That's how I got Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, and I got Super Mario Advance 3 there. Um, yeah, I got several games there. It was really cool, but it was like a daycare for while you grocery shop, and they had just the coolest things in there, man. They had those old. I don't know if you remember them, but I think it was Play School maybe, but it was like a medieval set, and they had the castle and the knights, like all the knights figures. I think it was like a
Yeah.
it was so cool. It's like worth a lot of money now. But it was really cool. Really cool memory. They had a lot to do there, so I was always on the game systems.
Fair enough. The next game we got was Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero.
Very
Another game
excited
that
about
definitely has
this.
that anime-esque RPG, style game. It looked like a I don't want I can't
I just recently bought the collection that has Phantom Brave in it for the Switch. Because they have the NIS Classics series where they're releasing two at a time. You get two games together that were like
yeah.
PS2 games, or a lot of them were like PS2 games or PS1 games. But I'm a fan. I like Phantom Brave, and I believe there's one on the PSP I played as well. I have to look
Because
it up.
that's why I swore I remember seeing a game like this from. Actually, let me check something
I'm
real quick.
almost positive that it was on the PSP as well. Yeah, it was. Okay, so yeah, I played it on the PSP as well. So it is the first game. So I don't. Yeah, this is. Yep. So it was on the PS2 and the PSP. And then they had an expanded remake for the Wii called Phantom Brave: We Meet Again. So it was the first game with extended content. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so it wasn't that game specifically. It just reminded me of two other games I had for the Vita itself. One was one of the Desigia
That,
4 from NIS, and then
Disgaea, yeah.
yeah, and then I had Tales of Hearts R. It
Yep.
just reminded me of those games.
You got two excellent games there. Those are very
Of
good
like
games.
yeah, of like drop them of just raw Vita games.
Dude, I still gotta do the
I don't think I've got
the
any of
mod
those.
carts for the Vita. I bought
Oh,
both those SD to Vitas to be able to put games on there, and I haven't done anything with it yet. I just haven't had time, man. I'm gonna
Yeah.
fill that up soon though. I'm really excited.
But no, it looked like a decent game. It just reminded me of some of those old games I had on the Vita.
Yeah,
Like out in like 2015, 2016.
yeah, it's a good series. It's a really good series. There aren't many tactical based games that interest me, but this is one. And you were mentioning this guy. I really like this guy as well. I think it's a good series. A new one
Never
just
got close to beating it, but
a new one just recently came out on the Switch
yeah,
and I think
there's a lot of them.
PS5.
But no, this game's supposed to come out from NIS, obviously, or coincidentally enough. But this they say sometime 2025, so it's got a release window of 9 to 15 months realistically.
Well, hey, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, it's not a
Yeah.
Metroid Prime situation.
And then I kind of already talked about this with the chat, but obviously the Marvel vs. Capcom games coming to the
Oh
Switch.
my god, dude! I have to talk about this.
From what I understand is these are ports from the arcade versions,
Yes,
which is I guess more ideal.
I already have it pre-ordered.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is my favorite fighting game of all time. If I ever see the arcade, which I saw it probably 15 times last year with the conventions. I play it every time. It's my favorite fighting game. It's the one I say I'm actually legitimately very good at. I played against a lot of local people with that game that say they're great and stuff. There's a barcade that has it and played a bunch there in Columbus. I am so excited about this game. I'm so excited. And it's cool to have all that other stuff packaged in. But man, just
like
for me,
because
Marvel,
they call it the whole fighting collection of the arcade classics. So
yeah,
it's like a whole bunch. It's like what 5-6 games in one.
So, yeah, they got even like the Punisher game on there, which that one doesn't really fit. Fighting collection, if I remember correctly. I don't remember it being like a fighting game, but I mean, I could be wrong.
I was trying to pull something back up. I just wouldn't. I think I was skipping past it.
Yeah, because I had an image that has it all on there. Okay, so yeah, the Punisher 1993, X-Men Children of the Atom 94, Marvel Superheroes 95. That's a good game too. X-Men versus Street Fighter 1996. Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter 1997. That's also a good game. And then Marvel versus Capcom Clash of the Superheroes and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes, the 2000 version. So, yes, it looks like it is the arcade version.
Yeah, but I knew you were definitely going to. Obviously, I'm not a big fighting game aficionado, but I definitely knew you were gonna be psyched for those games.
Yeah. So they released the other collection Capcom did that had a bunch of the Darkstalkers games in it, and it had a fighting game that was stuck in Japan that never came out here, and I forget the name of it, where you're mechs, but it's a fighter. It's really good. So I'm glad they're doing this. That other collection, I have put, I don't know, well over 150 hours into it, and it's just several fighting games. The Darkstalkers games, I think those games are great too. I think perfect fighters, in my opinion. So I think Marvel vs. Capcom is the peak of that series. I think everything after it just went downhill, which is unfortunate. Infinite is a terrible game. But 1 and 2 are great. So
yeah,
I'm pretty
the next game is a game we already talked about, which was the Mario Party Jamboree.
Yeah.
But after that, we got probably arguably the second biggest game announcement of the day, which was not a remake, but a new Legend of Zelda game, Echoes of Wisdom. Which takes that old. Talking about
what? A Zelda game?
Say what to what?
What are you talking about? A Zelda game?
I wish I could slap you right now. I know what you're trying to do, but I'm like, you already know this.
Yeah, this is interesting.
It's what Link's. Is it the Link's Awakening that they did the remaster of?
Yes.
In the same art style.
Yes.
So it's the same art style, but it's not a remake. It's a whole brand new game.
It's a brand new game. Yep.
And obviously, the main thing that everyone's talking about is you're not playing as Link. The first game you're actually playing as Zelda.
But it's not. It's not the first game. Zelda's Adventure on the Sea. So I
was thinking of one of the Warriors games where you can technically play as Zelda in those.
I tweeted this out a bunch and was like, I wasn't necessarily arguing with the guy, but I was putting on there. I was like, the way that this game looks is the way that Zelda's Adventure on the CDI kind of feels to me. And to me, that is, if you were to play one of the three, that's the only one to play. And that's the only one that I think is good. But they're notorious for being bad in the cutscenes. And but I think Zelda's Adventure is pretty good. and I think it's worth playing if you're a Zelda fan. But this is really cool to see, and I don't feel any of the stupid political stuff that I've seen on Twitter about this, and
That's Twitter.
I mean,
It's just brain rot.
not
It's a brain rot website.
not everything has to be politically based. I think this is very cool. This is something people have wanted for a long time, and the way that the game works, the trailer is very interesting.
Yeah.
I almost like don't quite get a grasp of how she's sort of her combat.
So for understanding, it's more puzzle than combat, but essentially you're just able to make copies of items to get around obstacles, and then you're eventually, uh, once you defeat an enemy, and however you do that, maybe the one they showed was like using a rock on one of the enemies,
Yeah.
and then you can essentially use that and just resummon the enemy to essentially like fight for you. So it feels more of a puzzle game than anything else with Zelda, because it's not like straightforward.
Well,
combat.
Zelda is puzzle games. I mean, the dungeons it's
Yeah.
all puzzles, but
No,
yeah.
but with her specifically as your main character, it's not Link, where it's the Triforce of, what's it, courage for Link. It's because Zelda's
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Triforce
yeah.
of was it wisdom? Is that right, Darren?
Yeah,
Wisdom.
wisdom. That's
So
why it's called
essentially,
Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah, so you take that aspect, and it's like, okay, you have to be smart, both in gameplay and combat. It's more top to bottom puzzle based, just not dungeon puzzle based, because Zelda, if you want to say it canonically, isn't the standard I'm gonna pick up a sword and
Right.
hack and slash type everything. That's not
Which is
kind of the approach we're taking.
not
with
really
this.
what I want. Like I
Yeah.
want. So I pause this at a scene where Zelda is looking at the entire landscape of this map. Like it's
like early on.
101 if you're on the like, Nintendo trailer. 1 minute and 1 second. I paused it right there, and you could see the entire map. So
Yeah.
way different than people have brought up that this has something to do with Link's Awakening.
Isn't
but-
Link's Awakening like a side story because he's unconscious? It's
yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's a dream. It's not.
It's a
yeah,
straight side story. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. So
It just uses the same very obvious aesthetic choice for
But-
what they want to do.
But to me, this is taking that art style to the max, because if you played Link's Awakening remake, amazing game, but you didn't get a view like this where you're seeing the entire freaking map. You see
Yeah.
the castle, you see everything, Hyrule Castle. I think it looks, I think it looks super interesting, man. Like I'm
No,
excited.
definitely. I also thought that I don't think, maybe just because I didn't dig too deep into it, but the whole title definitely still uses the aesthetic of Breath of the Wild and
Yes,
Tears of the Kingdom.
it
It's using that
does.
same title aesthetic, as well as the actual in-game the controls. So I'm curious how this ties into those two stories.
I am curious too, because the way that it looks, the way she is looking at the map is more Breath of the Wild and Tears
At
of
the
the
very least,
Kingdom-ish.
It's a callback to that.
Yeah,
But I
like,
guess my one question is, because this is the first, since we got Breath of the Wild, this is the first game that's kind of the whole side story that we don't know what they're gonna do, because it felt like Breath of the Wild, obviously going to Tears of the Kingdom, it felt like either we're so far in the future that everything merged, or it's like a soft reboot. So this is the first kind of like side story. So how does this fit into the whole complicated lexicon of Zelda timeline?
yeah, I'm curious. And then one of the things that in the trailer it shows, it says mysterious fairy. It's like introducing the character named Tri. His name is Tri.
To be fair, I was like, oh, this is gonna be another Navi.
Yeah, I mean, it could be,
How
but
do you
it's
not,
interesting
draw
that
correlations?
his name is Tri. You know what I mean? Like Triforce. It's a little.
I mean, yeah, knowing Nintendo, that definitely would make sense with how they like to name characters.
I would have loved to have done this myself, but there's a really good analysis video out there too. That's definitely worth checking out. If you look it up, it's one of the first to come up. But I just I'm pumped for this game. I liked that art style quite a bit. Link's Awakening, the remake, I mean, it was great. The only thing with that game, it had these weird performance issues where frame rates would drop. If there was like 6
Oh,
enemies
during
on
the
the
live
screen.
stream.
No, no,
Oh
no,
no,
the
no, the game, the
game.
game. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah,
No,
it
yeah, I think
had
that
a
was a
problem that never
very.
got fixed,
It's very much a hardware limitation, is what it felt like.
which is weird for the type of game that it was. Like that of all games, that felt like that should not be dropping frame rate like that. Like it would drop
Well,
it would drop like, sometimes 10, 15 frames a second. Like
it comes down to how the game's designed and what resources is it trying to pull and stuff like that.
but this looks like it's doing way more, and I don't,
Yeah. I don't know,
obviously it's a trailer, but I
maybe
don't.
the studio they were using just got more comfortable with building this style of game with the hardware and stuff like that.
And the other thing,
It's a possibility.
if you're analyzing this trailer, there is I guess it could be, I can't remember what its name is, but it looks like a bokoblin from Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild that
Yeah.
Zelda. So this is like showing the fighting mechanic. She's throwing a rock at it to kill it.
Yeah.
And then she like picks up that character and uses it to battle other. Like it's really. So basically, she like captures the enemy and uses the enemy to fight other enemies.
Yeah, well, using her, you want to call it
Because
her wisdom
that
to get around
try
obstacles.
that try is what's doing it. The fairy.
Yeah, because the fairy's what gave her the magic wand and stuff like that.
So
which I think is really unique because it's not the same old tried and true gameplay method. We're gonna bring in you to play as Zelda, but we're gonna give you a very unique combat system and how you approach different obstacles. I think they said it's like
wow,
10 different people could play this game, and you have 10 different ways you solve problems within the game.
At 358, you see the Tree of Wisdom, and it has the Triforce. I don't know what you call him, right in front of it, but you see the Tree of Wisdom, and he's alive and well. So that's interesting, for sure. Like there's stuff that pops up for like 1 second that's like super interesting, because there's like a side scrolling where she starts side scrolling through the level. There's a part where she's swimming and side scrolling. So
I gotta pull it up. So I'm on the actual live stream portion, so I don't know where this is just that video.
This is the announcement trailer.
Yeah, no, I was actually on the actual live stream.
No, this is what was on the live stream.
No, yeah, but there's like a short, like 2-second clip where it's technically got both.
I mean, yeah. See,
of the what's the fish people's name? I'm blanking on it.
The what? The Zoras?
The fish character. It's got both versions of the Zoras at one point.
And then I'm seeing another side-scrolling part where she's jumping through on top of the I forget what the spiders are called.
Yeah.
But jumping on top of them and side-scrolling through the level. So that's very interesting.
Because I'm curious story-wise, like what they're doing.
Yeah, because it feels like there's parts of Breath of. Yeah, because see, like she's flying through the level with one of the, I forget what they're called.
Oh yeah, they brought back the portion where you can light the grass on fire.
Almost like she's
there's another section of, I can't remember what they call those zombie-esque looking creatures, but she used that zombie looking creature and it scared essentially the bokoblins, whatever you want to call them, to like being afraid and stuff like that. So it was like unique ways you could approach enemies or solve different problems.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about that. Johnny said it looks like Link to the Past. Mr. Coffee, Mr. Radar said put Link's Awakening takes place on an island that is not real. Yeah. Yep. So it's like it's kind of like a non-story type game. I also said I would say compare the landscape to the SNES map, because Ganon looks and attacks like the SNES version. So I wouldn't have mentioned Ganon. That is my favorite version of Ganon, by the way. It's my favorite.
The pig-looking Ganon from the Defeated Hero timeline.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. So
Ganon. I'm just curious. Is this a true? Because Japan in general is weird with how they approach canon and a lot of their media. Is this a true side story, or is this gonna relate to any of the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom in any way, or is it gonna relate to another older game?
That's feels like I'm curious. It relates to both. That's where I'm confused because I'm seeing stuff I'm curious. I mean, this has got to be a canon game. I feel like it's absolutely a
Well,
canon
from
game.
the weird thing is, I'm pretty sure Nintendo considers all the Zelda games that they made technically canon because they put it all into a timeline.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So with that approach, I'm sitting here, I'm like, obviously we don't, outside of Breath of the Wild leading to Tears of the Kingdom, we don't know how those two games collaborate to a greater timeline because Nintendo just loves to torture us when it comes to stuff like that. I'm curious how this relates to those games specifically,
Yeah.
or lack thereof.
Yeah, I'm very
I feel
curious
like we're
too.
not. I feel like it's either going to be obvious in the game, or they're just not going to tell us outright, and we're just going to be left back to where we used to be, just guessing where games go.
So I'm going to make a comparison because the game just came out not long ago, but the Princess Peach Showtime, it kind of reminds me of that because the way that she is, her combat is dressing up into other characters, basically, if that makes sense. It's more of like a Kirby game is what I compare it to, but it's kind of the same concept. You know what I mean? And like she's picking up the enemies and using them, and it's different, but like it's kind of similar too, which I like because I think all these characters they should be using them more in different ways. Like they really should. Like this whole time Zelda's name is in the title and never never used. So it's very interesting.
I mean, she's used in the games narratively, but as far as like gameplay wise, she's non-existent.
Like I love Ocarina of Time, but it's like she doesn't, you know what I mean? Like when you're watching it, like she doesn't do anything. It's like I wish there had been something with Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask where you were doing
maybe not Majora's Mask, but
yeah, maybe not.
She's relevant in Ocarina of Time.
One ever since she gives you the Ocarina. Sarah does. Sorry.
No, but she's chic in that game, right? No, that was like the big surprise. Like she's in the game, you just don't obviously play as her.
Yeah, so
I mean, know it's her like half the time.
Could that be in here?
30 years late.
Yeah, I mean, could that be in here?
Idea.
You know what I mean? Like, it feels like this weird mixture of Breath of the Wild, but also like A Link to the Past. Like it gives me both vibes.
Kind of a wait and see. I'm more curious about not the gameplay because I feel like they showed us enough of what you're gonna expect. I'm just curious about the story aspect of this game.
No, I am too. I want to know where it's going to be fitting in and all that.
This game comes out September 26th, so not like you have to wait, that much longer. Another 3 months, realistically.
Yeah, Mr. Coffee said we don't know until they do another update to the Zelda timeline.
Yeah, so another 20 years.
Question would be, which time does this take place in? Well, that was one because the game limited due to the freedom. They did want to do something more with her. Johnny said it does look like A Link to the Past. So
yeah,
it does.
And then
it does, yeah.
Yeah, as well as if you're into collector's editions, they also announced the Hyrule Edition Nintendo Switch Lite launching the same day.
They did.
Which, to be fair, feels like a way of we need to clear out inventory, so let's just make special editions to help us like get rid of this backlog inventory for the. We assume the sequel comes out next year.
Here's
as
the
well
thing.
as they're trying to like boost their sales to beat the PS2.
That's
what I thought.
I want this just as a Zelda fan, but like at the same time, the thing is, I'm not going to use it.
I'm not into console collecting. It's for special editions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not either. But I highly regret not having got that Zelda 3DS. The thing is beautiful. Oh my god, and it's like
I guess it's
$400 now.
It looks nice, but how I see these special editions, like if you're in the market or you're going to be, pick it up. If not, I don't. Aesthetically, it looks nice, but
it looks fine. It's a Switch Lite. It's a Switch Lite. I will say though, I'm allowed to say, the company Unlock Switch that we talked about a few weeks ago, they reached out to me. They're sending out a unit. So, it's like the MiG Switch, except they're doing things right and communicating daily, several times a day with people. They're giving all of the data and everything they're doing. Like, I'm sharing everything. And they reached out and asked if I'd want to be a beta tester for it and cover it. So I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did a tweet. I hate this MIG switch. I still haven't got my dumper. I can't get a reply. I can't get a
No,
reply
I'm
about
pretty sure y'all
dumper.
got scammed on that. That's how it feels to
One
me.
person, there's I think one video on YouTube with somebody that has a dumper, that got the dumper, and he's like, "Oh,
That's deep
first,
fake.
I,
He's in on it.
yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm frustrated because I still want that because I paid for that cart. I paid
Yeah.
for them together. I want what I paid for, and like that's the whole point. Having that dumper, that's me backing up my games. That's the whole point for me. It's not the other route. That's not necessarily why I'm interested in. I'm still nervous to even like try to take it online or anything like that. So I don't think I'll just back up my games and
Yeah.
have one card to use. But I don't like that they made a V2 like as they're shipping out the V1 because you have to pop it in and out over and over and over again to select the game. Like
Sounds a terrible way to design a
I
cartridge
sent it.
like that.
I sent several emails, and I sent an email. I said I want the V2. I don't because I paid for this. I want the V2. I don't want. That's all you're making now. You're not even making the other ones. They're not going to send me the V2. I can't even get a reply. I don't even know if I'm going to get the dumper. To be honest with you, like at this point, I have no idea. It's so frustrating. It's been sitting. I think it's still right. No, it's over there now. But it's been sitting here at my computer for weeks because there is a way technically to get some games on there without the dumper, but it's a pain, and it's
Yeah.
not the use case I'm going for. The use case I'm going for is backing up my games. So a little frustrating there. A little frustrating. Seems like people don't like the MIG switch chat. Several people drop out. Yeah. So, but we'll be covering that unlock switch, so that'd be cool. I'll be tweeting out about it since that's where they're at and showing stuff along the way.
Yeah, we got some other stuff that either we kind of already know about or it's kind of small. So obviously, another Just Dance 2025 is coming. I don't know. There's a whole lot you want to say about that game.
I have absolutely nothing to say about it
because I didn't either. We've already kind of known. We kind of already talked about it. Obviously, Lego Horizon Adventures games coming to the Switch. Lego game Horizon Zero Dawn kind of fits the platform. But we kind of already talked about.
Yeah,
that.
it's gonna sell. It's gonna sell more there. It's a Lego game. Makes sense.
Yeah. Stray's a game that's been out for 2 years now. It's coming to the Switch. Nothing.
It's cool.
Nothing
It's
real
coming.
to that.
Cool that it's coming. If you haven't played it, it's fun.
There's a Tales of the Shower game, which I thought looked absolutely terrible.
It looks horrible. It looks horrible. Like literally looks like a mobile game and also a Game Mill game. Like Game Mill Entertainment could have put that game.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you just live in the shower. I'm like that. To me, that just seems super boring, and it looks cheap.
It looks horrible. It looks horrible. I'm not looking forward to that game. I will not be picking it up.
Yeah. Then we also have the Ace Attorney Investigations collection coming to the Switch as well. So if you're into those games, I can't say I've ever really cared to play them, but I know there's a lot of people that definitely really like those games.
Yeah, I played the first two. I never played anything past that. Actually, I lied. I played the first two and then Apollo Justice. That's the one that Capcom sent me out when I did the Mega Man compilation for them. That was one of the games. I got Harvey Birdman on Wii. And I got that game. I got some weird games. Mega Man Star Force. He sent the 2 versions, I think, for Star Force 2. Yeah, I mean that was cool. Good times.
Definitely. So we got 2 more games for like the last one. So we got the 100 Line Last Defense Academy, which kind of felt like a Danganronpa game. If you ever played those, it looked like one of those games. Like the way the characters look and are designed, and it might actually be. I'm just wrong about that, but that's like what I first saw about that.
You're always
I never
wrong.
as an expert.
Nah, yeah, you're not an expert at anything.
Yeah, as well as another game, Romancing Saga 2: Revenge of the Seven.
I am very happy they're doing more Saga games. Great RPGs.
Games have played them. I mean, it looks interesting.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. They remind me of the Tales games and the oh god, what was the one that you were streaming that series? Tra- Trails? Yeah, Trails of the Sky.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that what
yeah.
you're playing?
Trails.
Yeah, Trails.
Yeah,
It
I was
remind
trying to pull it up because I
it
couldn't
reminds
remember.
me of those two games. It's like they're pretty like cult classic games, just like those. They're
Yeah.
good. So I'm really excited we're getting a new one. That's cool.
And then obviously we wrapped up with the last game, with the game we've been waiting for 7 years for, which is obviously finally got news on Metroid Prime 4
All right, Nintendo.
Beyond.
Nintendo. I want to know, where's the news about Metroid Prime 2, 3, and the best one, Hunters?
I guarantee we're not getting Hunters.
What's going on? What's going on? I need Metroid Prime Pinball too. I want these games.
Yeah, not all those games. I think there's still a chance we get 2 and 3.
I bought your first remaster. I want 2 and 3, and I want this remastered with the online play.
Yeah, I've heard some people say maybe with the success of the Prime 1 remaster, they changed their idea on just porting 2 and 3.
So, yeah, let's talk about if you watch it now, I'm gonna pull it up. I've done it for every game we've been talking about, just to backtrack again on watching it. But to me, this was the weird thing. This is what people are debating. I'm seeing like literal debates on all platforms about this game. Whether or not this is running with the Prime remastered engine, because at first I watched this guy's reaction and it was funny because he's like, a Nintendo fan, and he didn't even know at first when they were showing it, is this 2 and 3? Or is this 4? And it looks
I heard
like
people talked about that.
It looks like Metroid Prime remastered.
Yeah. The funny thing is if you played 2 and 3, you knew this wasn't 2 and 3. It looks nothing like those games.
Yeah, no, I knew that. I was watching his reaction.
I've played those. I was like, oh, you're not a big Metroid fan. It's been years, because it's like 2 begins with you literally crashing on a planet, and 3, it's essentially you're dealing with the phase-on issue that's been built up through that whole trilogy. But I thought the game looked absolutely amazing.
So, what do you think about the subtitle, Beyond? Metroid Prime Beyond.
I'm kind of curious, because in Prime 2 Echoes...
See, I didn't like the Echoes on Prime 2. I didn't like that.
But it fit with the story, because essentially the planet... That phase-on asteroid crashes, and it forces the planet to kind of to phase, so it's kind of the planet's echoing. And it made really unique gameplay for that, having to, certain areas you have to go between the two and stuff like that.
It looks awesome. You know what it reminds me of when I'm looking at the way it reminds me of the new Doom games. Like
just a little bit.
Not even just a little bit to me. It very much reminds me of that. Just not the get close and you can tear them apart type thing. But shooting.
That's just not Metroid.
That's just not Metroid.
No, but as far as like the title goes, and it's rare, obviously it's been, if this game comes out 2025, it'll have been 18 years, or just shy of 18 years, depending on when it comes out, from when Prime 3 came out, which came out in August of 2007.
Yeah, so...
but Metroid Prime 3, the subtitle was Corruption. Like, the subtitles for 2 and 3 had to deal with the plot of the story. So when they say Beyond, I'm sitting here, I'm like, what is that?
So
I don't know what that has to do with the actual story, because the 2 and 3 that actually had the subtitles, the subtitle was quite literal as far as what the story was. So had to do with the story.
The people that Samus meets in the room, I don't know exactly what that's Silos or
it's Silex, yeah.
Okay, so
you first meet him in Hunters, which is
see, that's what I'm saying.
Side story.
It's not just.
I'm glad that they stayed true to the end of Prime 3, because he's at the end of Prime 3 in his ship blasting away. We knew it was him at the end of Prime 3.
Yeah, I don't like that this game gets ignored, because it introduced all those other bounty hunters, and now
it does. But the problem is the story is kind of pointless. It doesn't tie into the rest of the Prime games. It's between 1 and 2, it's like a bounty hunter thing, and then she goes back to whatever she's doing. It introduces other bounty hunters. It expands the lore.
Well, it was it was a DS game.
DS game.
I think they did very well for it as a DS game. I think it's excellent.
There's really not much of a story to that game. It just introduced this character who we know is a bounty hunter, and then he obviously shows up again at the end of Prime 3. and then we're left for almost 2 decades not knowing what happens after that.
Yeah,
But obviously, there's Metroids. Pretty
So-
sure those are obviously we have Space Pirates.
yeah.
But
So
I saw some people debating like where does this fall in the timeline? Because obviously you're gonna have this forever debate. From what I understand, the Prime games are technically canon. All the Prime games from Prime 1 to Prime 3
they're
take place
all
between
technically
Metroid 1 and Metroid.
prequels.
No, well, from what I understand, they take place between Prime 1 and Metroid 1 and Metroid 2.
That
So
makes
between Metroid
makes
and then
sense.
Samus Returns is where they're put in the timeline, because obviously Japan approaches canon kind of different than we do. Technically, they're all these games are canon in some way. But some people say based off of the 20X and 9 that it might take place potentially after Metroid 3.
Yeah, that's my point. I think that this game is quite a bit later in the timeline. So
It just doesn't get
Metroid 3 can make sense. But my thought was that it was probably going up to I call me crazy, but do you think that Other M could have any sort of attachment to this game at all?
I would say no, because I don't think it's going to go that forward in the timeline.
So we're looking at so Metroid 3. Man, I just feel like it's a little bit later in the timeline, and I forget what year's Hunters in.
Well, the problem is they don't give you hard years. It's like
Well,
20x
the
something.
manual. Well, yeah, no,
Yeah, you have to pull it up.
I'm looking
But
at the
based
manual.
off of the canonical timeline, it's Metroid 1, which is the OG Zero mission. Then it splinters off into the Prime series, which is Prime 1 all the way through technically Federation Force, but that game doesn't exist to me.
Yeah,
then it's
funny
Metroid-
because Federation Force is talked about in the manual.
Yeah, I know, it's frustrating. Then it's technically Metroid 2, Return of Samus, Metroid 3, which is Super Metroid,
Yeah.
Other M, then Metroid Fusion, then Metroid Dread. Because technically, I think Dread references Other M, and this
It does, but
Metroid
it's obviously the latest
Metroid,
game.
Yeah, but Metroid Fusion
Is
very obviously
right before Dread.
No, but it references Adam Malkovich, because that's kind of who she nicknames the computer in Fusion. And then Other M comes out, and that's really where her and Adam's story really
Yeah,
expands
that
in
was very
game.
story based.
So it kind of makes the story, it makes sense. It fits before Fusion because it makes that story make sense.
Well, the
Fusion kind of leads into Dread.
The other thing
Or
is
directly leads into
obviously looking at the suit. So the suit is like the original suit. So it's like exactly looks like the suit, like comparing it with the Metroid Prime Hunters case. It just a very standard suit. So that's why I was wondering if it could be a little bit further than
these trailers going to be
people-
dissected for
They already are.
months to come.
Oh yeah, I know. There's gonna be more.
Because the thing is, like, does it stay between 1 and 2, or does it go past, like, say 2 and then Super Metroid? Based off of the rough guess that we have of the year, and I don't think it would hurt the timeline if it goes between other mainline games.
No, I think it needs to.
I think it makes it makes the story more interesting, because Prime 2 is where you're supposed to essentially all the Metroids minus the baby Metroid she gets, and then Metroid 3 obviously starts with after she drops off. It's like, the galaxy's at peace, Final Metroid's in captivity, but technically no.
Did you play Samus Returns, the remake?
No.
Oh my god.
Technically, Metroid 2 is the only Metroid I haven't played. I've played
so you haven't played it at all?
Mission.
You haven't played either?
I've played Super Metroid, but I've never beat Super Metroid, but I know the story of all the games. There's no Prime Metroid 2 is just killing Metroids. That's kind of the shtick.
Samus Returns adds in more story to the game.
The problem is it's on the 3DS, which is out of print. Like, that's the problem with that game, is it came out at the very end of the 3DS life cycle.
Yeah.
So
it was one of the last games.
I'm gonna pay an arm and a leg at this point. That's my problem with Samus Returns.
I know that it's a little expensive. I mean, if you want it in the box that it came with, that it's more expensive. It's more. Yeah, well, me too.
I'm sorry, having like
had
loose
it.
cartridges is
I
not
had it,
ideal.
and well, no, it comes. There's a boxed version of the game, like it's in a actual cardboard box with the 3DS case inside, and then it comes with I think a map. I can't remember inside something. It comes with something inside. I am an idiot, and I sold mine last year. The reason that I sold it was it was sealed, and I didn't want a sealed version. I could have sold the sealed, made more money, and bought one that was opened. Um, and I didn't end up doing that. I got something else. I can't remember. So I need to get it again. I really like Samus Returns. I think it's very fun. It's one that not as many people have played because it came out at the end of the life cycle, and people, you need a 3DS. I am shocked. Legitimately, I'm shocked they haven't brought that over to the Switch, because it was right at the end there, and like they're doing these games that were on the 3DS or the Wii U and bringing them over.
The problem with that is didn't Samus Returns require the use of the stylus on the touchpad?
Mildly.
So
Like it can be done without.
That's the problem with some of these DS games, is you have to essentially rework combat to take out any kind of like touch control.
Well,
or just bring just the OG, but obviously if there's more story elements that are going to be technically canon over the original.
Well, that's the whole thing with like bringing over 3 is the motion controls. So like there's a gimmick there.
Yeah.
And, So I don't know. I'm pretty excited though.
I guess the one thing though, when it comes to Prime 4, based off we have like a rough idea that they give us with the year, is if this takes place after 2 or even after 3, that definitely makes the story unique, especially since there's Metroids involved and Silex.
Yeah.
Because technically between Metroid 2 and 3, obviously with Fusion and Dread, the Metroids aren't obviously all gone, but 3 ends in which all the Metroids are supposed to be gone. That whole baby Metroid, I think it's super that the baby dies to save Samus from the mother brain.
Yeah, mother brain. Yeah.
That comes back, and then obviously they reference like, hey, we got rid of the space pirate base, but obviously we weren't going to get rid of them all.
Right.
But I think it adds a potential layer of complexity to the universe and the story if it takes place just after Metroid Prime 3.
Mr. Coffee says, sounds like they are going beyond Metroid. 3. They're going to be. I mean, the name means something because it's meant something on the last 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, legitimately, Metroid Prime Hunters, it had the meaning because you have the 6 bounty hunters.
I'm just curious where it takes place. Does it go after 2 or does it go after 3? I think it doesn't go after Other M.
It's got to go at least after 3.
Those.
I feel like it has to at least go after Super Metroid.
At least after 2. I can't see it going past Other M and Fusion. Just because it doesn't fit with the timeline.
It's not going to get to Fusion. But I was curious if there is a possibility of Other M, because I just don't know. It says Beyond.
Plus, I have a unique take on Other M. I didn't like it for the reason literally everybody else in the community didn't like it for.
I don't like it either.
I didn't like it for the combat and the play style.
I didn't
and
either.
A handful of narrative decisions that had to be made for the gameplay. I actually like the story of Other M, and I think it gets too much hate. For the wrong
story's
reason.
good, and like you can just go on YouTube and listen to the story if you want.
Not everyone's just a badass out of the box. Like, you have to have an origin story, and I thought they did it really well. And then I'm blanking on the creator's name, but he pretty much came out and says, "You all can hate Other M all you want. This story's canon, and it's canon to the story. You just have to accept that moving forward."
I didn't know.
So is technically Federation Force, as much as I absolutely
I did know that.
Other M.
And I'm curious where that takes place.
It takes place after Prime 3.
Federation Force does?
Yeah.
Do you own it?
No, but I know where. I've watched people. I've watched videos on the proper timeline and stuff like that.
It makes no sense why.
Stuff.
So I had Metroid Prime Pinball too, and you know that it like retells the stories. It's actually really cool. It's like retelling the stories. So it's kind of neat. It's really neat. And it's a fun pinball game.
Yeah.
I highly
But
recommend that and use it with the Rumble Pack cart. It's really
yeah,
good.
I don't think they'll take it that far into the future. But I'm just curious where it takes place in the timeline, because how that affects the story and stuff like that. But I think it'll still be a good game. As far as the actual what they showed us, though, I saw some people talking. I thought it was kind of unique. They went straight. There was no trailer. They went straight gameplay on obviously what looks like the intro tutorial area for the most part. But I thought that was a really unique take on what they did. It just says no. Here we're gonna give you essentially no story until the very last few seconds. Let's just give you some initial gameplay. I thought it was a unique take on this, because normally they'll do a thematic trailer first, gameplay later.
Yeah, it's very interesting, man. Like we get a cool trailer, but there's not a lot there. And I think obviously Silex being the big thing there, and what his role is. I would be curious though if any of the hunters come in the game, because they're obviously,
Yeah, I can't imagine
they
they
have
would it being too
really,
complex. I,
really,
well, they've not usually outside of 3, which more or less still it was the space pirates and then the corruption with Dark Samus essentially. They've pretty much stayed true to really only having one really main villain in the games.
yeah. I
But
just
I don't know.
I
I
just
feel like Sonic
wonder.
Hill
Like I
is the
feel like they're
main.
not just gonna throw away those characters. Like
I don't know. I don't.
they're
I.
they're reusing one for this. I feel like
But he was
potentially.
set up all the way back in 3, though. Like he was set up back then.
Yeah,
I
but
just don't think they'll
barely.
bring them back. Because what's the difference? We're all just bounty hunters.
I want
Like
Trace
what
to
is?
come back.
I don't think any of them will.
He's
But that's just
he's
me.
he's so cool, man.
I think it's
Invisibility.
cool, but I don't know
I like
how
all the
heavy they're
hunters
gonna.
in the
I
game.
don't know how heavy they're gonna rely on the Hunter's DS game outside of they brought Silex into the end of 3, leading up to whatever that story was, and then
But
we didn't get a game
dude,
for 20 years.
it has intense wireless and Wi-Fi multiplayer action. They have to bring. Dude, if they brought this over with some multiplayer, man, people would freak out, dude. I'm serious.
I mean, you gotta rework the combat a little bit, remove the touchscreen stuff.
Yeah,
But
that's the problem. But I mean, it controls this. Doesn't control the same. Like it has the same aesthetic, so I feel like.
I thought they were talking about bringing back multiplayer in Prime 4, if I'm not mistaken. Like it was talked about.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Which I feel
talked
like if they're
about.
gonna go that route, there's really no reason for them to even want to touch hunters, because then it would conflict with Prime 4's multiplayer.
I
Like
don't.
they wanna have a focus on that.
I don't think we're
That
gonna
and the
get
fact,
it.
let's be the story is non-existent.
It
Kind of like
it's
Prime. If
it's
we get a
good.
new Hunter, if we get Hunter, I feel like we'd get a remake of Hunters before they just straight port it.
Or a
But
remaster. I'd be good with that.
yeah,
I'd be good.
but
Remaster all these, pinball included.
with it being a spin-off, I feel like it's less likely to get touched anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Very, very
But
interesting that they did not say anything about 2 and 3.
well, they did say this game comes out, and here's the other debate: this game comes out 2025, so it's not coming out anytime soon.
What? That's next
What's
year.
the other debate? Would they make this a cross-gen launch title for the Switch successor if we're expecting it to come out next year?
That's the other
Because
thing. Is it?
even if it's not the plan, it very well fits the development cycle.
I mean,
And
the console's coming out next year. There's no doubt about that.
yeah,
There's no doubt
and we
about
know
that.
we pretty much know for a fact you're not going to have a Zelda game at launch. It just doesn't fit the timeline from when Tears of the Kingdom. They've been kind of taking about 5 years to make a game.
And I think they need
can't
to if
imagine.
they continue
Yeah.
doing that style of game. You absolutely have to have that time. And
So,
I
there's
would
a good-
prefer they took the time.
I think there's a good chance there's probably a Mario game at launch.
The 3D Mario Odyssey. It's
I
been
think
a
there's a-
while. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
that came out launch year for the Switch.
Phenomenal. A 10 out of 10 game, man. That was
Yeah,
a
so I think
really
there's a
good
good
launch
chance
game.
for that. But I think there's a good chance, just because it happens to fall in the cycle, that it'll get moved around for whatever the Switch successor is. And here's the other question: if this game is going to be a potential launch title for the Switch successor, how much of its development was geared towards that hardware compared to just straight Switch hardware? Because I feel like that would affect what they're able to do in the game if they all of
Yeah.
a sudden maybe it may not have started like that, but for like the last few years, they've been able to be like, hey, here's better hardware that we can potentially use in development of this game.
I told you, I told you, it might. Well, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but I said, maybe there's a possibility that development being, stopped and done with another studio could potentially have something to do with the Switch too. Like they are Nintendo. If you look at their patents and the things that are publicly put out, they're years ahead on this. I don't know if you remember when the patent for the Switch came out, but it was
No, I
the Wii.
don't.
Yeah, the Wii U is pretty new, and we
But
had
I
like
guess
this patent.
yeah, because I guess you look at it this way. We got the announcement in 2019, which means at best proper development didn't start till 2020 on this game, because we knew throughout 2019
Yeah.
and into early 2020 we kept hearing announcements of Retro hiring people to come in for the studio.
Right.
When it comes to like art, character direction, so it probably took a year or two at the latest. 2021 is when at the latest that game starts proper development. I probably lean more towards 2020 at this point, but I mean, at that point, they probably would have had a long-term idea of like, well, based off of what we're expecting with the development cycle, or by 2021, 2022, if they were expecting this to kind of come out close to the Switch 2, at that point, they would have had to have had development kits for whatever the sequel is going to be.
They could have. I think this game would work as a. Here's the thing. First of all, Metroid doesn't sell. We know that. It's not a big series.
Yeah.
So for it to be a launch title for the Switch is a bit shocking to me.
I feel like it would be on maybe next to, say, a Mario game, which would make a lot more sense.
It would have to be 3D Mario. It's about time. Like we're.
Here's the other thing, because obviously some people criticize the idea because it doesn't sell well, but I was like, well, if this is one of like 4 or 5 games at launch with a new console, I feel like that would help the sales of this game. Well, yeah, you have a Mario game at launch. Well, if Zelda's the other big game that's not a third-party crap game at launch, which you tend to get in some way,
yeah.
I feel like that would absolutely make this probably easily the best-selling Metroid game by default of it just being a launch title.
You think it would outsell Dread even being a launch?
If it was a launch title, I think it absolutely would, especially with how well Dread did.
Yeah,
it only needs to sell a little over 3 million copies to be the best-selling game.
Maybe it's a pack-in.
I don't think it'll be pack-in.
Well, hey, let's save the rest of this conversation for a video that we are doing. I say we move on and check out the limited run games real quick, and then
yeah.
So what do we got here, Mark? We got Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered, coming June 21st, physical edition. Have you played the Dark Forces game? I still have it for PC.
I had to pull up. I don't think. No, I've not. I would want to pull up to verify.
Fun. I have PC disc.
Yeah, I've not played these games. Okay. I had to pull up just to make sure I knew what it was for a second.
Now, the Valis 3 collection. This is a series that I think you would potentially like. Potentially. But I can't remember. Do you like the side-scrolling sort of action games, or was it you that said that, or was it? I can't remember.
It might have been somebody else. Like, I don't mind side-scrolling games, but they're far from like my favorite ideal game to play.
Gotcha. Another kind of highlight one is a Fighting Force collection. These are PS1 games. Very interesting that they're doing this, and I believe all these, probably all these use that new Carbon engine that Modern Vintage Gamer has a part in.
Yeah.
He is actually the lead director on the what's it called? We talked about the game already. We already knew it was coming out. Oh, dang it. I love it too. Can't think of it. I'm looking.
It's not the Marvel Capcom one?
No, it's that one that you said, oh, it's got that weird kind of 3D, 2D. It's a very expensive
We just
game.
talked about. Let's try to pull.
Oh, Toomba.
Yeah.
He's the Toomba Special Edition. He's the lead director on that, and they did show a new trailer for it, and looks like so much fun. I'm super excited about that one. Clock Tower Rewind is coming out. Don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about that before.
Did we talk about that one? Yeah, we might
We
have.
did.
I can't remember if it was that or a different one. We've also got Ninja 5.0. Okay, so here's a story about Ninja 5.0. It is one of the most expensive GBA games. For a loose cart, I believe is like $300. This game, I think, came out at the very end, did not sell at all, and so they're bringing it over here. So this is a what I call inaccessible game unless you're, you know, doing other means. But if you're playing physically, uh, absolutely do not buy that cart for that price. That's crazy. But it's cool. It's coming to PS5, Switch, and PS4. One thing you will notice here, which is a little odd considering what they said before, no Xbox releases at all for any of these. None.
That's interesting.
Yeah. We got Shantae, Advanced Risky Revolution. So the story behind this game is that it was in development and they stopped it. And Limited Run went and finished the game, and they're releasing it. So
yeah, good on them.
And it's the last game in the series. Another really, really exciting one for me because I had 1 and 2, and you definitely played. I think 2 with me because he had like the James Bond cover, the Gex trilogy. Do you remember Gex?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, yeah, this is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm watching the little like kaiju scene where they're tearing down the buildings.
Oh yeah, there's a series that I thought was pretty big, and all of a sudden just kind of went away.
Yeah,
when we were younger.
I know. I hated that it did. I really liked it a lot, and each one of them were different too. I mean, they're very different.
Definitely. There's a portion where there's like they have an actual like woman on screen with.
Yeah,
Gex,
I
like,
saw
on the
that
monitor.
popped up for like a second.
Back when they did that, like they would throw like a real person in the game.
Yeah, it did. It looked exactly like a real person.
It was, but
I mean, it was. Yeah, I was just saying, like it in the game is a little odd.
Yeah.
One that we did already know about, but they showed more gameplay footage for is the Rugrats Adventures in Gameland. This game looks absolutely freaking amazing. Literally, the cutscenes look like the cartoon.
Yeah, I remember playing one of these games when I was younger for the GameCube, but it was one of the 3D ones, not like one of the side scroller ones.
Well, I had 2 of them for the PS1.
This is a really old cartoon that I remember watching growing up.
Yeah, what's cool about it is that you can go to an 8-bit style and HD art style back and forth. Really cool. You can switch on the fly. It's just very neat. Like the 8-bit style, it looks exactly like an NES game. The other style looks like a brand new game. It looks like the cartoon playing in this game. Especially the cutscenes look exactly like the cartoon. But I would say like the model looks like it pulls straight from the show. Like there's no. Do you get what I'm saying with it?
Yeah.
It looks like, but the 8-bit style, I'm very, very interested. It looks so good.
It's an interesting way to develop a game, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's been quite a few games that have done this. I've got a couple of games. I mean, Dragon Quest 12 did it. What else? There's something else I have that doesn't. That's pretty cool. There's also Double Shake. Don't know if you know about this game.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so this is one I didn't know about, but it's a 2.5D platformer, inspired by some of our favorite 3rd generation game or 5th generation games. It looks very interesting. I don't know how else to explain it. You're kind of it's like it's the 2.5D. It almost looks like it's going 3D, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it is technically just side scrolling, but you're sort of, I don't know how to explain it. It's 2.5D. It's really neat. Really neat. I don't know the history of this game. I might need to look it up. It's probably a really expensive game. The games that look like this are usually expensive. Like Toomba. I mean, it's just craziness. But yeah, so there's Double Shake. We also got Lollipop Chainsaw Repop announced.
Comes out
So,
this summer.
yeah, it comes out this summer. I think this is one you're going to grab as well because I'm
I pretty
definitely,
much guarantee.
yeah, I'm
It's a
definitely
game I wanted
grabbing.
to play growing up. I just never got a hold of it.
I got a loose disc if you want to play it.
But it's all scratched up.
No, I mean it's fine. I got it in a lot. I don't have a case for it, but
Yeah.
I know I put it in a bag so it didn't get scratched. But
I know
yeah,
there's one
no.
game on here that you're. I know there's one for sure that
Oh
you're really excited
wait,
for.
wait! The Lollipop Chainsaw shows an Xbox version. So I
Yeah, it's
was
got all
reading.
three.
I was. I. It might be because it's Lollipop Chainsaw. Might, if that makes sense. It's a bigger game.
Yeah,
It's
bigger
not.
title.
It's not like an indie game.
A
It's
game
not
that
a.
was on the 360 and the
Yeah, it
PS3.
was on 360, so I mean it makes sense to be on there. And I mean
Like that's
I don't care about, I like playing all the platforms, but um you know, the Xbox does have a slight edge on it, so um there's also Fear Effects. So this is one I knew about but didn't like know what the game was. I just knew about it. I remember seeing it to rent and I never rented it. Um It looks like a kind of a Resident Evil-ish, James Bond-ish. That makes sense. It looks like
no, yeah.
it looks like that. I don't know how else to explain it. It says a lost classic finally returns. Fear Effect challenge assumptions on game aesthetics and art style when it debuted on PlayStation, and decades later, its extraordinary blend of cell shading and motion videos still dazzle the eyes.
Yeah, it definitely
Um,
has that mid 90s first 3D era look to it.
it does, but the way that they're doing these, it that carbon it just makes it look better. If that makes
Yeah.
sense, it doesn't like it's not bothering me as much as if I put that PlayStation disc in. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's kind of upscaled for modern television, so it's going to look better by default.
Yeah, we
Compared to
got.
if you just straight port that old one where it's going to look bad on a 4K TV.
There's no trailer for it, but there also was Hitman Blood Money Reprisal. So it is featuring gameplay improvements inspired by later games of the series. So it seems to be like a remaster, but maybe more of a remake because it's saying it's taking the later games, aesthetic and stuff. So
Yeah.
is there any more on here you wanted to mention? There's Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition.
I just know there's a game that you're really looking forward to that comes out next year. You know what game I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea.
Oh, come on. You love Bubsy.
Oh yeah, the Bubsy collection. No, I'm stoked about that. No, there's a couple
As you
more.
forget about it.
Yeah, I know there's a couple more I forgot about too. So yeah, the Bubsy collection. Uh, I saw Atari tweet that out, retweeted it, and they commented back to me. Yeah, Bubsy is notorious for Bubsy 3D being one of
Oh,
the
it's
worst
so bad.
worst 3D games ever. But I think some of the other games are very fun, and I think he's a good character. Like I think he works as like, I just like the character. There's something
They just made
about
a
him
they just made a bad
that
bad decision with the 3D game.
that was horrible. I don't know. But they're also putting out Penny's Big Breakaway, which we talked about before. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so they're putting that out. That's coming out this year. And one that is huge for me. I'm not shocked they're doing it because they did the first one, but Gimmick 2. I stand behind Gimmick being the best platforming game I've ever played in my life. It's like Kirby, but way better. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a very expensive game if you're trying to get the original. Very expensive. So I'm pretty happy about that. Don't really see any gameplay, which kind of sucks, but I mean,
unfortunate.
Yeah, we know what it pretty much looks like. So,
But no, they got definitely have a lot of good games they're putting out this year, next year for sure.
Yeah. So, GI Joe game, Wrath of Cobra. I think we talked about that one before.
Just a little bit.
Cosmic Fantasy Collection 2. This is one you would be interested in. I don't know if you've ever looked into these games, but they're kind of like you games.
They're me games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no trailer that they got here.
No trailer, but you can look up what the games look like. They, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, but I believe these games didn't get brought over to America. The ones in this collection.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I think. And yeah, they even have the Japanese titles for them on here, like Cosmic Fantasy 4, Genga Shoin the Netsu. So yeah, I think that's the case there. They're doing Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. That's interesting. I love the new Wolfenstein games. I think they're great. And is there anything else you want to mention on there?
No, I think we got pretty much everything.
All right. Well, that was a good podcast episode. We appreciate everybody watching.
Very obviously Nintendo Direct centric, but we kind of knew that going into it.
Yeah, no. We definitely did. Good episode though, and we got some other stuff coming. We're actually going to get ready to record something, so we'll have some stuff coming up here soon, guys. Appreciate everybody watching. Please follow on the socials if you're listening to audio. Definitely helps a lot. Give us a subscribe on the YouTube channel. We do have the memberships on there. That helps as well, and I put my first video up on there for the memberships. Is there anything I'm missing there, Mark?
No, I think you got everything.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate everybody watching or listening, and we will see you all in 2027.